Reed's up front.
Did we have a good time last night?
We did. Welcome to the chat. You're hearing My Morning Jacket. This is Don Dante. I got to hear these guys last night. This is the layup line for today. People don't play music like this anymore, man. Just, if there's one thing I wish I could do is play the fucking guitar. I trade all this podcasting bullshit to be able to play guitar like Jim James, like Tom, like Carl.
Like Sturgill right now?
Yeah, but you know, like these guys last night. Bo on the keys, Pat on the drums. Pat's found the fountain of youth, man. He's back there just wailing away.
The drums is where it's at.
Yeah,
I want to learn the drums, bro.
You metal.
We could start a band if we have a guitarist. Maybe Cowboy on the vocals.
What the fuck do I do? Am I?
You said you're gonna be the guitar.
The tour manager. That sucks. I want to be a part of the band. You know, I probably deserve that though. I've done a lot of cool shit in life. If I'm ever a part of a band, I'm
just
probably not
book
going
our
to be
dates.
like the front man.
Yeah, we just need you to book our dates.
Okay, yeah, I'll book the dates. We'll just welcome to the live show. Guys, I've been waiting to do this for a long time, to go live on a Friday. First thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to read this ad. And it's not really a read when you believe it, when you feel it. You know, when you live it, it's not really an ad read. So this almost, I know these BetMGM pays me, but I do this ad read for free. It's a lifestyle. As you know, we've teamed up with BetMGM. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for you listeners each week. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Number one, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code GREENLIGHT. Number two, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code GREENLIGHT when you sign up. It's early in the morning to be reading an ad, but this is how we're going to do it. And welcome to chat. I am seeing like this pod kicks ass. You kick ass. You guys are awesome. Justin Morgan says my brain is cooked. My brain is even more cooked. I literally am on 4 hours sleep. I went to a concert last night. The first thing I want to say is, as we do this live show on Fridays, I think it's going to be electric. I think it's going to be awesome. It gives me a chance. This is why we've arrived here. Let me tell you why we've arrived here. I'm tired. I'm really tired. I have to do like 6 shows a week. I'm not complaining. I'm not working in a fucking coal mine. I know where I stand in the workload hierarchy in America. I am not, an essential worker. Okay. I'm not chasing down bad guys or putting out fires. Like I talk about football for a living, but I talk about football for a living, and what's important to me is like that y'all feel like we're not full of shit and that we're watching what we talk about and that I'm speaking with some authority. So I need the time to be able to watch games, and honestly, the cadence with which we have been recording disrupts my ability to do that. And so ultimately, I feel like sometimes I'm faced with a choice of talking about your team half-heartedly or don't talk about them at all. And I'd much rather talk about your team. You guys all come to this podcast for intel on your team, you guys and gals. I mean, like, there are some Cleveland Browns fans in here. I mean, statistically, it's possible. I got to talk about the Cleveland Browns. Okay, plus it's kind of entertaining to do that the way they're playing right now. There's a lot of Eagles fans in here. We're going to talk about the Eagles every week. I'll talk about the Eagles this week. You want me to sell you some hope? The Eagles have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way if you're an Eagles fan. It's a bye week, but the bye came at the exact right time. How about being an Eagle and looking at the bye week and being like, it's too early? Like, no, it's not. It's right on time. Okay, so we talked about the Eagles. Welcome to the chat, everybody. This is why we're going live. It gives me an opportunity to wake up Friday morning and do the show with you guys in the chat. That's how I prefer to do it. Thursday, it's just too quick. So we're going to stay live. And one thing I want to do off the top of every live show, Cowboy Reed. By the way, give it up for Cowboy Reed. He is move Cowboy front of camera.
Vibing.
He's like, yeah, fuck. What the fuck are we doing here?
No, I was just trying to figure out how many times we can work Denver Broncos in the conversation.
Dude,
today.
Broncos are going to be a big topic today.
I'm excited.
Like a huge topic, Cowboy. Like, I'm excited for you because the streak is going to end. Hey, we're going to talk about this later. But here's what I want to do at the end of or at the start of all these live shows. I love talking about random football players. You know, I love playing NFL grids. Like, if you're not familiar with NFL grids, it's like a grid of 9 boxes.
Nate was on there the other day, by the way. Jaguars Bears.
Doing the grids?
No, he was
his name.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you can play guys that work in this studio in NFL grids. The whole thing is like there's 2 axes, and one of the axes is like team, and one of the axes is like another team. And, it's like pick a player that corresponds with this box in a way that, like, for instance, this guy played for the Packers and the Raiders. So you have to pick somebody else out any time in history that played for the Packers and the Raiders. I love going back through, like, old nostalgic names. I grew up in the 90s. Like, I've got an encyclopedia worth of football names in my head, and I'm actually pretty good at the grids. So I love talking about old football players. I'm going to pick a game of the week every week at this point in the show, and you, the chat, have a job to do. I'm going to open the floodgates for, let's call it 5 minutes, Reed?
5 minutes, starting now.
5 minutes at the start of every show where you guys name the most random football player that played for this week the Jets or the Vikings. That's the game of the week. I'm going to take Vincente Shanko off the board, but that's an example of the type of fucking name I want to hear. Okay, like I love random football names. So put a former Jet or Viking in the chat. If you're spamming us and giving us 5 names, you're not going to be entered into the sweepstakes. But if you're just giving it an honest college try and you want to talk about Gilbert Brown, sorry, I just took another one off the board here, like, by all means, and do it within the first 5 minutes of the show, starting now, Reed. We'll start now.
Okay, starting now.
Okay, start the timer now. And at the end of the show, we'll go through those names, and the winner is going to get some merch. We'll send you a sweatshirt. It's hoodie season. I was out in Maymont Park last night in Richmond seeing My Morning Jacket, and I almost got cold, It's not cold yet.
It's not cold yet. Some of these names coming through are great. So
are they
far.
great?
We're
That's
not going to.
awesome.
Yeah, we won't say any. We'll go through them at the end. But these are great. You all have come to play today.
And one more time, I want to shout out My Morning Jacket. I got the T-shirt. I busted the T-shirt out this morning. One of my favorite bands ever. One of the best live bands ever. And I've been seeing them now for like almost 15 years. And they sound just as good. And it's so funny because when I used to go to the shows, like early on in my fandom in the early 2010s, like I was a fan. And one time at Bonnaroo, I used to go watch him, and the drummer, Patrick Hallahan, is the guy that any dude in the crowd is fixated on. Like they're all great musicians, but like if you're a dude, you love the drums, right? Nolan loves the drums. We love guitar, but the drummers are like the heartbeat of a band. And Patrick, who's, by the way, a big Steelers fan, Bo, who's an amazing person, and he's like a maestro on the keys. He's a Browns fan, so he's taken the year or the half decade off.
But he's more of a Cleveland Cavaliers. He's a basketball.
He's a basketball junkie. He could go toe to toe with Ryan Russillo on that show. But the point is, like when I used to go see him at like Bonnaroo, like one time I got a chance to meet him, and I was trying not to fanboy, but next thing you know, me and Patrick end up in the tour bus until like 6 a.m. just slamming whiskey and watching SportsCenter. And like we emerged from the bus supposedly, and we hugged like 46 separate times. People were like, it was like
It was a meet cute.
It was perfect, man. And like ever since, like I went from being a fan to like legitimately just somebody who thinks highly of these guys as people. And got to know Bo, got to know all those guys, and
they've
last
come
night,
on the show.
Yeah, they've come on the
a
show,
couple times.
and it's so funny because last night I walked backstage. Like when I've walked backstage a lot to meet those guys, and like there was the Bonnaroo era, and then last night it's like, hey, I got this non-alcoholic Guinness. You gotta try it. Like, Tom's like, you really, Chris? Like I was like, I'm thirsty and tired. He's like, here's a non-alcoholic Guinness. Nobody's drinking. They're gonna take us on a golf cart tour of this Maymont Park, And shout out to the staff there. That place is beautiful. I only saw it on the cover of Darkness. If you're in Richmond, you know about this place. But they got like this old mansion that's like 15,000 square feet, and it's like definitely haunted. And they've got all these owls and animals like native to Virginia. I saw an elk last night at like midnight. It was incredible.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was just riding around in the golf cart. But got to hang out with those guys. I love those guys. Love that band. Check out My Morning Jacket. If you get a chance to listen to like one of their live albums or get on nugs.net, blow you away.
Nugsnet, dude.
Nugs is
Can't say
amazing.
enough.
Sorry, I know there's a very heady open, but I want to give people a chance to. Hey, if you're going to bet the over on a football game and it goes 37-30, or if you're going to bet the under, rather, on a football game that goes 37-30 in overtime and clears by like, I don't know, I can't do the math right now, 23 points. Like they hit it in the first half. Just make sure you go to a concert. Like that didn't feel bad at all. Like honestly, sometimes you think if you bet a game and you watch it, you're going to have some effect on it. Like just put it down and walk away for a little bit. And it just made it easier to swallow, you know, the fact that like it just wasn't going to work out for me. Also, have an hour to watch said incredible game in the car on the way home. Shout out to my boy Tom for driving. I got to watch the whole second half of that game last night.
And we got extra football too. Overtime.
Yeah, we got overtime. Listen, there was a lot in that game. And I'll just say this right off the bat. I understand what people are saying about the Falcons when now in almost all their games, and I said this last week, it's a pattern. They are finishing games with game-winning drives or drives that give them an opportunity to win the game. Like the Kansas City game, they came up just short. They've been in every game, and they have taken teams to the brink or beaten them on that last drive. And it just becomes a thing where they're dangerous. I mean, like, they are dangerous offensively. The one thing I think could get them is the pass rush, you know, kind of non-existent in the first half and throughout much of the season, right? And you go out and get Matt Judon and you do all that stuff. And I don't want to oversimplify it, but I just don't think they're like a team that can rush the passer. Even if they add a piece or somebody comes on, like, that's going to be the thing that I worry is their Achilles heel. Although in the second half, they did a nice job bringing pressure. There were a couple pressures on third down, I think 1 3rd and 9, where I was like, I don't know who's coming. You know, that was very, very impressive. And then Onyemata in a game where they did not pressure much in the first half at all, like 3-man rush where they're mugged up, demand the one-on-one with Onyemata. It's just enough time for him down there in the red zone, I believe it was, to slide in there and tackle Baker and it's a sack that looked kind of awkward. Baker got up and everything, but like these were big stops by the defense in the second half. It just felt like they made just enough stops in the second half, even with their red zone struggles, to hang in this game, be put in a position where Todd Bowles hands it to you. You know, I thought they could have been more aggressive. The Bucs could have been at the end of that game. You know,
They should have been. It was what, 3rd and 25. Right at the end, 126.
Try to kick a field goal.
Yeah, get 7 yards. Try to make it easier on your kicker.
You know, because the Falcons have showed you this, they can get down the field quick in these situations.
Really fast.
And the middle of the field's open
Wide
most
open.
of the game.
Yeah.
And so like on a couple counts, like I'm not going to say the Falcons didn't deserve to win this game. Like they won the game, but the Bucs also did some things that just kind of gave them the game. And the Falcons kind of got out of there thinking, like, I don't even know if we should have that last possession, but they gave it to us.
It was 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 28. Bucs had 1st and 10 with 144 left, and you can't win the game.
Well, and part of the reason that, like, I know Bucs fans this morning are freaking out is because Bucky Irving's doesn't have the ball on first down.
Right.
And, like, I understand that maybe from a macro standpoint, you're like, Bucky might be the guy for us down the stretch, and maybe we need to, like, you know, spell him, you know, as people are like, what's Rachaad White doing with the football? Well, you know, you can't wear this kid out. He's not the biggest body. I know he runs really hard.
And Bucky had fumbled the
and
previous
Bucky had
possession.
fumbled. So, you know, maybe you don't want to give the ball away. But I think Bucs fans, hindsight being 2020, would have wished that they were a little more aggressive. When he got the ball in second down, he made a cut. Now, they missed the face mask, right?
Yeah.
Clear as day.
Yeah.
They called the hold. I can't speak on that, but like from a standpoint of watching Bucky run the football right now, like I would have liked to see him in the game on first down, even if he fumbles, because the net result is like they got the ball back anyways, and you didn't kick a field goal. And I thought you could have been more aggressive. I just did. It's just one of those things. I'm not putting it all on Todd Bowles. Kirk Cousins back there, shot putting the ball, standing pat in that pocket, like standing in cement. And, I got to say, very gutsy from him. When I saw his stat line during the concert, I was like, Kirk just played the game of his life. He didn't. I mean, he almost gave it away at a couple moments, like almost threw a couple picks. And, there were moments for this offense where you were like, what the fuck are you doing? But the middle of the field was open, and they were going there. And the Bucs need Winfield back. I'm not going to judge the Bucs off this. I'm not going to judge the Falcons off this, other than the fact they play each other in less than a month. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like, the division is kind of wide open if you look at this thing between these three teams. And, like, I picked the Bucs to win this thing. I still think they're the best team, top to bottom. Part of that is, like, it's hard for me to put a team through that doesn't rush the passer. Hello, Eagles. But I look at these two teams and say this is gonna be a fun matchup in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and I also think with Kirk, what you saw and what we've seen through this first month is improvement each week in his ability to drive the football.
Yeah,
like remember that after week 1 there was all the hysteria, people on Twitter analyzing shin angles to see if he can still step into throws.
Marvin Harrison Jr. was only going 14 miles an hour a month ago, man.
Exactly. We saw it at the end of the game last week, that 3rd and 31 we talked about on Monday, where he drove that field out.
Huge.
Position to kick the field goal. So it's like, hey, Kirk's looking more like the Kirk they paid for. And then, last night, like you talked about the middle of the field, he was driving balls in there. And then when they corrected a little bit to put more coverage in that space, he was hitting the field outs. He was hitting balls outside the numbers as well. So he took advantage of the time in the pocket, and I just thought, overall it's encouraging to see him getting better each week.
Winfield, sneaky MVP for this defense. I mean, like, for him not to be on the field, you see the effects, and like for the Eagles, that sucks because like I'm watching Atlanta and they made it look easy for a lot of the night. They didn't finish sometimes. I will say this, like, again for Atlanta, somebody pointed this out in the chat. That play, they threw a screen late in the game on that last possession. They could go up 10. Evans is wide open. He's naked, indecent exposure. And
Right.
there's and you know what? Baker has played really well this year, so maybe it's not his first look. Like, that's a secondary option if the screen's not there. I don't know, but the route's in the play for a reason. And and he's wide open. So there's an opportunity to do that. And somebody said he wasn't stepping into it, which is crazy. He went for 500 yards. Just talking about Kirk Cousins, I was totally impressed with that from him. Like, his toughness. Hey, Kirk Cousins, you can say what you want about Kirk Cousins, but he's a franchise quarterback in the NFL. You can talk about his ceiling, sure, but I think at times in his career, people have not given him the respect that he deserves. I think some of that's probably because of the way it started, and we can't get, like, when a player enters the league, like, we have an opinion of who they are off of their first year and a half, and him having to start out with RG3 and the whole thing. But not only that, he is a guy that people like. Like, his teammates seem to like him. Like, when he walked in the locker room at the end, and he hit him with the "you like that?" They were like, "Yes, Daddy." It was fucking weird.
They couldn't wait for it.
It's like he's got this stranglehold on the locker room. Last year, he's putting chains on and shit on the plane. Like,
not a lot of players have a catchphrase. That's awesome.
Dude, he's honestly like the guy your wife leaves you for, and you're like, he's not cooler than me. And then the kids love him, and they're playing with him and shit. And he's wearing plaid, and he doesn't care about how he dresses, but like everybody loves him. And eventually it's time for America to come around on the fact that maybe Kirk Cousins is kind of cool. And Kirk Cousins is kind of cool to me, and so is Baker Mayfield, because they stepped up last night and they donated to Rubicon. That was so damn cool. Baker's people hit me up. They're like, we want to do something with Rubicon too. And I said, bro, like, it's a great organization. like, do you need my help? They were like, we just want to make sure it was straight. And they both gave $50K.
Damn.
$50K last night.
Wow.
Kirk and Baker to Team Rubicon to assist in hurricane relief efforts, Helene relief efforts. Again, to remind y'all, if you want to give on account of us or Baker and Kirk, like, check out those links. Like,
it's in the description of this video, and we put it out yesterday. If you on social media,
69% of the chat says Kirk Cousins is cool.
Boomstick.
Nice.
That's what we like to see. Kirk Cousins is cool.
He is
verified.
cool. Verified cool.
But
bro, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you donate at certain levels, you can get some Greenlight merch. Just send us your receipts. Donate to Team Rubicon. We'll send you some merch. Even if you did it a couple days ago, you can still resend that receipt, and we'll send you some gear out.
Yeah, and I just want to say one last thing. The way that game ended, being on the road and having lost games like that where you can't get a stop late and things are just going wrong and you feel like you let a team back into the game and you get to overtime, it oftentimes ends with one big play like that where just the dam breaks and the defense is so tired. It felt like that guy was running in a different gear.
Oh, yeah. He made everybody else look
stupid. It was, like, and then after the game, they're interviewing him. Can you pull up the Kadarius Hodge interview? Because this is hilarious. This sums up the whole night. This is like the chaos that is Atlanta. Win or lose. Look at him. Now look in the background. Look in the background of this video at the people scrapping in the front row. People with good tickets fighting like they're in the upper deck in Atlanta. That is unbelievable. Run that back a little bit. You can still see him throwing.
They're throwing hands hard.
Hands, dude. I think it's some ladies throwing hands.
Yeah.
Like, after a Falcons victory that you should remember forever, they got Matt Ryan in a red jacket. Ludacris is at the game. By the way, the soundbite of the game for me is maybe the greatest Al Michaels moment in TV history. They go to Ludacris in the front row, and Ludacris is, like, bopping a little bit or whatever. And Ludacris is like, or Al Michaels goes, there's Ludacris swinging and rocking to the music. Whatever. That was you telling me Al Michaels doesn't still have it? Like, he's got it, bro. $500K each. Sorry, I left the zero off. $1 million.
No, I think it is $50K. Don't always trust what you read.
Don't trust the chat?
Nope.
I was like, bro. So, Matt, what are we doing, Matt Borgstrom? This is misinfo.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
One more note on that game. Shout out to Mike Evans on his 100th career TD.
Oh, it's awesome.
There is I looked in to see if anybody else would do that this season. There is one other active player who could do it. Devontae Adams is at 96. And I was just thinking about how cool it's going to be when Jaden Daniels throws him that ball at some point this season.
Or Josh Allen.
That's right.
Wow.
Or Josh.
Or Derek Carr.
No one's been talking about the Bills.
I think it's way too easy to say, and we'll get to the Jets here in a second. Let's get to the Jets. Was that? Oh, we got something to do?
We do.
Okay, let's do what we got to do. All right, you ready? What's up, everybody? If you've been listening to the show for a while, you've probably heard us talk about one of the many Airbnbs we've stayed in. It is true. We had a lot of great times at Airbnbs in places like Phoenix, Buffalo, especially Buffalo. That's for another day. Green Bay and Minneapolis. I'll never forget some of the memories we made, like hearing the coyotes howl in the desert. We did. There were coyotes. There was an airplane that was parked next to our Airbnb playing
There's
pool.
a whole runway right next to it.
Yeah, it was a runway, playing pool late into the night with the guys and interviewing legends like Brian Dawkins right from the comfort of a beautiful Airbnb. You can't do that at a hotel. A lot you can't do at a hotel. We love the convenience, and it is way easier to hang out with your friends when you have a big place to share rather than staying at a hotel with separate rooms.
And we'll be booking Airbnbs every trip we take this season.
You're damn right, Reed. Hosting on Airbnb is a good opportunity if you live in a big football town. It absolutely is. Nice vacation with the whole family sounds expensive, right? Well, when the fans come to your town for those big games, your home could be an Airbnb. Hosting is a practical way to earn extra money to make your vacation truly special. If you're listening to this far from home, If you're listening to this from home or far from home, what you might not realize is that your home is worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host. Hey, the game of the week, Jets, Vikings, just how we drew it up, right? We would have thought maybe that would have been because of the Jets at this point. I don't feel like every London game is this big. I feel like London's got to be happy. Like, NFL's got to be happy.
Well, they say a reunion game. Sam Darnold goes back and he's going to play the team that drafted him.
How about there's so many revenge games now, and like revenge is just kind of like not a big deal anymore.
Right.
That like Stefon Diggs is playing the Bills this weekend, and I thought it would be a much bigger deal.
Right. And it's just
I thought it would be a much bigger deal.
Big time.
I also feel like, that's how damn good the Vikings have gotten. That like we're not talking about, hey, Sam seeing ghosts and like playing the Jets anymore. It's the Jets got to beat this Vikings team. Like this Vikings team is rolling. When you talk about London, the first thing I want to talk about is like the experience. Having done it a couple times, 1-1 in London.
And if you had, not to interrupt, but if you had advice for these teams, should they have left early in the week? Do you leave? As soon.
It depends on who you ask. Like I liked leaving earlier in the week to get on a bit of a schedule, get some rest. I never want to be sleep deprived going into the weekend. So like even if your body clock, the prudent thing is to leave, get in, get out, like on a Friday. Because that's what like body clock specialists will tell you. And you know what the body clock specialists don't have to do? Fucking take on a double team on Sunday, in a different time zone, The sun barely comes out in London anyways. So like, who needs the sun? I just need some sleep. So the biggest thing is like trying to get yourself on a schedule that works, because NFL is all about routine. We are all like, hey, you got to go to bed early. You got to get up early. We're up at like 7 every morning. You're at work. Like if you're not, your body clock's off, you're going to be a little fucked up. So you try to go over and sleep on the plane on the night, like you take a red eye over. We flew Virgin Air the second time when we went there for Philly Jacksonville, and I took like 2 Lunestas, chewed one of them just so I could like make sure it was working, and I could not sleep. I sat up there drugged talking to the flight attendants for 10 hours. The whole plane is snoring, and I'm just up there. It was me, Cortland Finnegan, and like eight like flight attendants. Just I had nobody to talk to, and they were great. Everybody's super cool on that flight. But the point is, like, everybody handles this differently. The food when you get to London, not great. We had a sleep specialist with us in St. Louis who I really liked, but I didn't agree with some of the tactics. Like, just because you put 2 seasonal affective disorder like lamps in the lobby doesn't mean I'm going to be awake when we get to London. Like, we'd walk in the lobby and they have these bright lights, and you'd stand next to these bright lights, and then you go practice. And then like in the morning, to ensure that people woke up on time, they had people walking around. This guy walked around. He got all these degrees. He's walking around just banging on our doors. And there was one morning where I didn't have special teams, so I needed an extra hour of sleep. Like special teams was early, and I really wanted to get some damn sleep. And he knocked on my damn door an hour early. And I was like, this is the worst. Just leave us to our own devices. There's a lot of like getting on the same page that guys have to do individually. It can't be the whole team. Everybody's got a different way. There is one story I want to tell you. I don't think I've told you this story, Nolan. We went to London one time. I've told this story on the pod a bunch. Reed, you know the story. One of my former teammates, a defensive lineman for the Rams. We arrived to the hotel on our way to get our asses kicked by the Patriots, 44-7. I don't remember much of that game. And let's call this teammate Bob. So Bob walks in, goes up to his room, unpacks his shit, turns the TV on. Something's wrong. Comes back down. Comes up to our team security guy, says, hey, Steve. His name was Steve Miller, like Steve Miller Band. Steve, hey, the TV, can you turn it to English? And Steve goes, Bob, you're watching BBC. It's British broadcasting. Like they're speaking English. It's just, and he goes, yeah. He goes, can you get them to turn the accents off?
Come on.
Bro, hey, listen, my time in London was so fun. Like, it's the time on the road together that makes this thing special. Like, I miss those times on the road, you know, like whether it's a team staying over on the East Coast or the West Coast for, you know, like some of these teams do, or going to London. Like, you know, it's a big pain in the ass, but at the same time, it is fun. It is fun going there and thinking, like, I am playing the sport I grew up playing in another country. Like, it's crazy. Like, you take the field, the pitch, which is going to be slick. It's going to be, you know, like soccer grass is different. You see it in Brazil. Like, I don't know if that's what it was. A lot of people were pointing to that. I was like, the grass wasn't great. I mean, for American football. I don't mean it's not perfect for your sport, footy. They like that pitch to be short and fast, and they like it to be a little slick so the ball skips over it. So cleats are going to be a real issue. You know, like who's going to be in the right cleats. Like, don't fall down. You know, when you look at a total, like I gave out the over, I think somebody's going to fall down in this game. You know, there's an opportunity for big plays. You saw it in Brazil. Like, there were multiple instances where there's guys on the ground, and in that scenario, there's big plays to be had. Also, if I am Green Bay or if I am the Jets, but more so not Green Bay, if I'm Minnesota and I'm Kevin O'Connell, I am going to be motioning out of the ass. I'm going to be orbit motioning. I'm going to be return motioning. I'm going to be cheat motioning. I'm going to invent new types of motion to make sure guys are wearing the right cleats and to start the play before the play starts. Because in general, that's good for your offense. But, you know, in a week where, like, guys might not be wearing the right cleats, like, let's see how that plays out. Our trips were great. Of course, the first time, 44-7 to the Patriots, terrible. We started off up 7-0. We hit a bomb to, like, Chris Givens out of Wake Forest, Sammy B dealing in the first quarter. And then the onslaught started. Like, you want to talk about now as an analyst, I didn't know what was going on during the game. It felt like, you know, it was World War II and I was in a bomb shelter and there were sirens going off. Like, you know, but looking back on it, it was very clear our linebackers had a hard time in the middle of the field with Gronk and others.
Gronk did go 8 for 146 and 2.
Yeah, that was a problem. That was a problem. Okay. And then the second one, we go play the Blake Bortles Jags, and your boy has a 2-piece. And it was one of my favorite memories ever because, like, after the game, me and Alshon Jeffrey and the guys, we're out getting drunk in London. And we're just like, dude, we just won a game in England. We're at a nightclub. Nobody knows who we are. Like, it's a different world. There are Russian people. There are people from all over the world. Like, we just were out there, bro, in the world doing things. And it was cool. We had a night where we get to hang out and then leave in the morning. Being hungover in London's like the worst city to be hungover in. I felt like I was going to cut my ear off, like Vincent Van Gogh. Not that he was in London when he did that, but I would imagine that's how he felt that morning. And the hotels are haunted, the whole thing. It's just an amazing experience. But it could slow the rushers down. You know, this is a game where, you know, at least on one side of the ball, I think the story when Minnesota has the ball is Justin Jefferson. It's Will McDonald. It's blocking those guys up front. But I think the big challenge falls on the Jets' plate. And, like, we looked at in 2022 how they handled Justin Jefferson, did a pretty good job with him. I think in summation, Jets don't necessarily travel corners with the number one, and I think we'll see what they do this weekend. Like, are they going to travel Sauce? Are they going to travel Reed? Like, honestly, looking back at that matchup, Reed, although you think size, Jefferson's only 6'1". It's just he looks so damn long. So you don't want to just put a big body on him and give up some of the pliability that Reed has, the explosion out of the break, just because Sauce looks tall, you know, and he's the better corner. Reed might actually be the better matchup. We'll see. We'll see how they handle that. You can't give Justin Jefferson free access. That's the whole thing. And so, like, Sam Darnold facing another variant of, you know, 4-man front, cover 3, he's been doing that thing. And this is a defense he knows. So we'll see if the Jets feel like they know Sam better than he knows the Jets. I think Sam knows the Jets better than they know Sam. They don't know the Sam that was empowered by a year in quarterback camp and now a month into the season as an MVP candidate.
He's walking around.
This is a different guy.
He's a totally different guy. You see the confidence. He walked into that locker room and he's like, I'm feeling it.
He listens to Gucci Mane before the game. I heard that this week. So I think it'd be interesting to look back and maybe chat, this, and somebody like can play producer and look it up, but like have sack numbers been high when you go to London? I know we got after Bortles a little bit, but like for the most part, it is hard to get traction on that grass. And like if you're the Vikings, a couple things. The Jets have hit the Vikings have had a lot of in-cuts hit on them. Like the Vikings have had some trouble in the middle of the field. Quiet as kept. You can say, hey, that's not true. Like, I know fans will get a little contentious, like I'm putting your team down. I think your team's awesome. I picked them to win this game, but I do think there will be some points scored because it's a different week than last week. I mean, Gilmore's great, but they don't man up a lot. So this is going to be a game about like zone eyes. And in the middle of the field, Rodgers, he can pick you apart. Like a lot of this is predicated on, hey, we're gonna bring zone blitz, and there's gonna be an answer, but most young quarterbacks can't find it. And I think part of it is like the reason B-Flow can do such a good job in today's NFL, and I'm talking about today, is there's so many young quarterbacks, there's so many guys who are on new teams and that sort of thing. Like they're gonna be quicker processing than most of the quarterbacks. And that's not necessarily going to be true with Aaron Rodgers. So I look at some of the windows in the middle of the field, and the backers have been great in so many ways, and Metellus is not the guy I'm talking about. But the other guys kind of drift a little bit, and the other guys can get manipulated a little bit in the middle of the field. So, I think about like crossers and, little in-cuts. And, the whole thing is, can Rodgers protect? Or can you protect Rodgers? Can Rodgers move? I've been waiting for a team to get him to move out of the pocket and make him pay for it. And last week, like ironically, and this is bad news for the Jets, like their two biggest run plays that I remember in watching that game back, and I might have missed one because I had to stop like 40 possessions in the third quarter. Like the biggest run that I saw was Rodgers rolling to his right and tiptoeing out of bounds, or like escaping left and picking up 14, like. That's not how they want to live. They don't want him out of the pocket. And if I'm the Vikings, how do I force him into situations physically that are uncomfortable? Platforms he don't want to throw off of. Sides, right. Away from his throwing hand. That sort of thing. These guys are rushing their asses off. And this is the week, though, that you might not want to get too fancy. Right. I know that's your bread and butter. The late rotations and stuff, I think the Jets, careful playing chess with him. I think the Jets might tempo a little bit to try to, I said this last week with Green Bay, I think you got to tempo these guys at times to make sure they're not rotating in every direction that they want to rotate before the snap. Like dictate the terms of the possession to them,
Yeah.
So I think.
Yeah, and you also need your receivers too, like you mentioned. Zone eyes, like it's your receivers in addition to protecting Rodgers.
Yeah,
you need your receivers to be able to identify coverages on the fly and maybe break a route off early before you get to your break, because you mentioned the explosives we've seen against Minnesota. In some instances, it's because of these disguises they're showing pre-snap.
Yeah,
whether it's a linebacker or a safety walked up on the line of scrimmage, they're not able to get to their landmark in time.
Yeah.
And so it's a veteran receiver on the other team breaking a route off as soon as he feels himself uncover. A lot like you see Mahomes and Kelsey have made a ton of hay with over the years. Is just kind of Travis kind of freestyling out there. So it's a big week for these Jets receivers too, to be able to kind of use those disguises against the Vikings.
No question. And like I said, if you're trying to trap somebody into throwing the ball in a certain place in a zone blitz and there is one answer, like chances are Aaron's going to know to stay out of the trap and throw the ball in the right place. Like he's not going to throw you a bunch of picks. Okay, but here's the thing. They got their ass kicked up front last week by Denver. I want to come back to this game one more time, God's team. I DM'd Zach Allen, your boy, this week, and I said, bro, hey, you just keep that shit going. And he said he loves the pod. But that group, I said, go tell that front seven, bro. We see you. Like, I just wanted to run in the building and start slapping people in the fucking helmet. Like that. like I just felt like a damn teammate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I see a defense playing like that, it makes me want to play. It makes me want to jump in that shit.
You gave a great breakdown the other day.
But that goal line stand, it's like there was the one team wanted to fight, the other just didn't to me. The one team was like, hey, yeah, it's raining. The other team was like, oh, it's raining. You know, and Saleh after the game was like, and we talked about this on Inside the NFL, he was like, yeah, weren't maybe quite prepared for the rain. I was like, hey, Robert, maybe get a weather bug app. or track the hurricane that's moving up and down the eastern seaboard. You know, and I think like when it comes to the run game, they didn't really stick to it because PS2 can erase Garrett Wilson. And Garrett's super frustrated. That's not going to be the way it is every week. It's not going to be the way it is this week. They don't have anybody that can just erase. They're not going to play man the way that Denver plays man. They're not going to be able to stack the box the way Denver was like, hey, fuck it. We're going to stack the box. But those guys were coming downhill. And Olu Fashanu, who I think is going to be a good pass protector, gave up like 5-6 pressures. So that's a guy that like they're going to play games with. It's not just going to be like, hey, see if you can block our guys. It's going to be like, hey, look at all these people. You don't know who's coming from where. Last thing I'll say, Breece Hall took a lot of lumps after last week. I think it is on Nathaniel Hackett to find him, after a second look, to find ways to get him the ball that suit his talent. You know, it's easy to say, hey, the Wisconsin kid looks better. You know, Wisconsin kid's a good back. It's a good problem to have. You know, we shouldn't be saying, hey, Breece is disappointing. How about be excited you got two good backs, and let's find a way we can actually suit their skill sets. I thought they ran more split zone with Allen. And what's the kid's name?
Braylon Allen.
Yeah, Bo Allen, Braylon Allen, bunch of Wisconsin Allens. So they're running more split zone. He had bigger holes to run through. I'm not imagining this. I'm not saying he's not better. He might be better in the long run. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. You got a really good player in Breece Hall. Maybe he's not an elite back, but like he has a specialty. Let's get him the ball in situations that suit his talent. And for a guy like Garrett Wilson this week to say like out loud, hey, Nathaniel Hackett, I don't think we do much. He's telling the truth. They really don't do much. That kid knows ball, okay? And he's frustrated. And if you think about it, as mad as Aaron Rodgers got at Sean Payton for talking about Nathaniel Hackett, like Garrett Wilson's kind of talking about Nathaniel Hackett a little bit. Like, where's that energy? And I think he's telling the truth. I don't think there's anything you can argue with him on. I think that also adds to an element that I think is very awkward in that building right now. I don't know when the Jets became like the Dallas Cowboys, but they kind of are, in that it's a circus. It was a circus all offseason. You had Rodgers missing a little bit of time, which may be a big deal, maybe not a big deal, but it's the way it's communicated through the media. And Salah's like, it comes down to the other day when after the game you're playing a game of telephone through the media. So the first time Aaron hears Salah's quote about the cadence, he's hearing it secondhand through the media, and he's now feeding the fire unintentionally or intentionally. I don't know, but Saleh shouldn't be saying that to the media. He should be talking to Rodgers and vice versa. And then they just look like they don't get along. And you know, now you're talking about trading for Devontae Adams. I think the Jets posted their social team posted like a meme, like a Friends meme. You know, it's some awkward shit going on. I don't know that he makes you like a Super Bowl contending team. So I've questioned, you know, from Devontae Adams' standpoint, like going there, right? I still contend that it's not the best place for him because in a year, I don't know what Rodgers is going to do. You know, like you could be catching the ball from fucking Carson Beck in 2 years, and he might not be good. You could be catching the ball from a bridge quarterback. Minshew could end up on the Jets next year, and you could be reunited with Minshew. You know, like if Rodgers is just like, hey, I'm done. And he's 40. This isn't me taking a shot. He's still slinging the ball. There are other destinations, Buffalo, Washington, where it's like you're not just going to be excited this year. And I could argue that you actually have a better chance to make a playoff run in Buffalo for sure. But in 2-3 years,
you've got a career extension. You don't want to start over. It sucks when you get older moving. Yep.
You know, I would have kept playing. I would have kept playing if it wasn't for the fact that I would have had to go out west. Like there were teams out west that were interested, and my role wasn't going to be what I wanted it to be in Philly. And I just said, you know what, like I'm done. Now I'm not Devontae Adams chasing a ring and a jacket,
Yeah.
But I know how it is, like when you're moving your family and, everything, uprooting. If I'm Devontae Adams, I want this to be the last move.
For sure.
So that's going to be an interesting one. The Jets are kind of a shit show, but I feel like this is going to be a really good game if the Jets can actually protect and hit those opportunities in the middle of the field.
And that Friends meme, I think it had to do with them traveling to London. But you're right, it is a little.
Me not understanding the show Friends, I kind of assumed it was about Devontae Adams.
Right. As that's what you.
But here's the deal: like Garrett Wilson, who's frustrated, is now hearing they want to add Devontae Adams. So now you're going to have your clique of Hackett, Adams, Rodgers,
right?
And then Garrett Wilson's feeling
and
like
Mike Williams,
and anybody who doesn't share in the vision. And I understand Rodgers. I heard Matt Ryan last week. He was like, "Get on my page,"
right?
Which is true. It's true. Like, get on my page. But it's like somebody the other night I was texting with, and they were like, "Yeah, Hackett, man." I was like, "Well, who hired Hackett?" And they were like, "Solid." I was like, "No, Rodgers." So this is on that whole group. Like, he shares in it too. If this is his guy, they got to find better ways to suit people's skill sets.
And last thing, and since you had two of these bets in the locks, you can tell me not to say this. You can slap my hand and tell me not to, but slap it for good vibes. So the Vikings are 4-0 against straight up and against the spread full game. They're 4-0 straight up against the spread in the first half, 4-0 straight up against the spread in the first quarter of all 4 games, and they're 4-0 to the over.
Yeah.
It slap the hand negated any
No, you didn't
anything.
jinx me.
All right, good.
It doesn't matter.
All right, cool.
You can't jinx something in another country.
Okay, cool.
You can only jinx something in your own country. And
it's a foreign market.
This is a foreign market. We can't jinx. So, hey, whoever you bet this weekend, I as a fan, yesterday I was talking about it with Macon. He doesn't like London. Steve doesn't like London. I freaking love it. I feel like a West Coaster to wake up and watch football. I think people on the West Coast are really lucky.
They have it right.
I would much rather live like that. I'll be on the beach by 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Like games are, like
you can watch
you can watch the Sunday night game on the beach.
On the beach.
With the
sun
out.
setting. What are we doing here?
You guys are so lucky. People are like, "Oh, California is under siege." I'm like, "Well, at least their football situation is
They
perfect."
have a few things right.
Like
they've got a few things.
They got a couple things right. Okay, and I love waking up and watching football. So it's one last game to have to compete with the other 1 p.m.s, and now we move into the 1 p.m.s. Another
reunion game. Buffalo, Houston, we see Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen. They get to see each other. Josh Allen, we saw him in Buffalo this past year. Houston, the Bills are favored by 1. 47.5 is the over.
Stefon Diggs is a bad boy, huh?
He's a bad boy.
He's out there.
He's out there doing some things.
He's out there in these streets, huh?
Doing some things.
They were like, "What's a WAP mean?" He was like, "You'd have to ask Cardi B." Oh, Diggsy. Listen, I love this matchup. I think it's gonna be awesome. I think the one thing about this matchup is everybody knows it's a big matchup, but these two teams could be playing for home field advantage and not know it. I hope they're reminding themselves of this as they prepare for this game, because if you look in the AFC, the Chiefs look human because of circumstances. The North, you already have a game up on the teams in the North, and that's a tough division. Buffalo, I think they're going to match up well with the Jets. I think, although in the past they've given Josh trouble. Miami is not a factor right now. The Patriots, not a factor. And for Houston, Jacksonville is in the shitter. The Colts are going through some stuff at quarterback, right? And what have you. And I can't even remember the other team in the AFC South because Tennessee Titans. And Will Levis. I didn't get a chance to talk about this game the other night. Will Levis throws the most interesting interceptions of all time. Did you know that?
Of all time.
He has thrown interceptions in the most incredible ways this year. And honestly, I think he's good for the league. The league needs a Will Levis.
We haven't started the Will Levising really yet, and we need to.
Dude,
when someone just does.
It's a verb,
crazy,
dude.
yes.
It is a verb. He is leading a movement. And honestly, I'd much rather see that than boring-ass Mason Rudolph turnovers. What are we going to see? A bunch of standard turnovers now?
We don't want that.
I want to see a guy throwing it to another guy who catches the ball between his legs, like the other night.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to point this out. This is maybe the funniest thing that happened all week, is Will Levis. Will Levis is a movie quarterback, dude.
Oh, 100%.
He's a varsity Blues quarterback. He lives in a montage of Thunderstruck. His whole life is Thunderstruck. He walks into the building. It's check it out the knee. Like everything is Thunderstruck for him. And then he gets out on the field and he does. It's like that one game that they just could not get it going. The funniest thing to me about Will Levis is he is the easiest person to lip read in the NFL. I have tried to make a career post-football of reading people's lips. It is the hardest thing in the world to do. I text Nolan all the time, like, can you read this guy's lips? I didn't need anybody the other night. First, he throws an awful interception, hits a guy in the dick with the ball, and comes to the sideline, and people are like, I don't know what he's looking at. The announcer's like, I don't know what he's looking at. They come over, pan over the sideline. Will Levis goes, I didn't even see him. And then he gets knocked out of the game like 10 minutes later, and they're like, what could it be? Is Will Levis okay? Let's go to the sideline reporter. And as she's talking about him, like they're showing him, and he's like, it's my shoulder. I'm like, if everybody would talk like Will Levis, we'd know a lot more.
We wouldn't need lip reading experts.
Listen, I love Will Levis. I'm not even – this game's about Buffalo and Houston.
Yeah.
Two of the best teams in the league, and I'm talking about Will Levis. Okay? But this is like a game where it's all about the injuries. Shakir didn't practice. Oliver had a hammy pop up yesterday. And honestly, Joe Mixon not practicing late in the week, a little bit surprising that things lingered. Like, if Joe Mixon doesn't play, I feel pretty decent if I'm the Bills. Now, I still worry about Nico Collins in the middle of the field. Taron Johnson might come back. That's a big deal, right? Nico Collins, one of his steps is three of my steps.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a big man. When he gets striding in the middle of the field, like, Buffalo doesn't have a lot of long stride guys. Like, Rasul is a little bit higher cut, but, like, I don't think of them as a long, lengthy group in the back end. And like when he picks up strides over the middle of the field, deep cross or whatever it is, down the seam, whatever it is, he is going to eat up green grass. And so you got to be really careful with him. If they can't get Mixon, they got to find a way to not be one-dimensional. I think CJ's played really well. When you look at his tape, he still looks like CJ. I sent Nolan on a fact find to see like what's wrong with the Houston offense, if there's anything wrong with them statistically. And he comes back and he's like, over the first 4 games, they're the same team. And they really are, like offensively, in a lot of statistical metrics, including protecting him. They're actually a little bit better. Now, I would counter that and say, well, how do they compare to the last 4 games of the season? Like, they are where they were last year. And last year where they were in the first month of the season was like, oh, wow, this team could be pretty good. I guess they're a victim of the hype, and I'm one of the people that have hyped them, but they're still 3-1. It's not like they're not playing well. It's just at times it has looked a little more difficult than it should, and it's easy to say, well, Mixon hadn't been in the game, but he wasn't there last year. And so I look at them and I say they're just fine. They're right where they need to be. And this defense at home is fast. Okay, like I look at like speed in the middle of the field with Al-Shaair. I look at the way these guys fly around, Hunter, the edges, the whole thing. And the edges haven't been putting up crazy numbers. You know, I think if you thought Will Anderson every year is going to be a double-digit guy, it's just not. That's not who he is. I love Will Anderson, but you know, not every player I love has got to be a double-digit guy every year. But Hunter is a guy you expect to really get home a lot. I think Al-Shaair, as I think out loud, could be a fun spy, on Josh Allen. I also think this, when you have a real speed advantage and you have corners outside that you feel like match up, Petrie in the middle of the field is not a man cover guy. He's kind of a box safety. He's versatile. I love what he does. But like there will be matchups in the middle of the field to exploit. Like, and that's where this offense runs. Here's the type of game I'm kind of hoping it is. I'm hoping this is a Josh Allen running with little people dragging behind him game. Like, I really do think when a team has a speed advantage on you and they're going to swarm and there will be some coverage matchups that aren't as good for you, this is a game where Josh Allen has to tuck the ball and make his presence felt. I mean, he's one of the biggest fucking guys on the field.
And I think he's ready to do that after the Ravens took it to him.
Yeah, no
he's
question.
He's going to come out a little pissed off.
His durability, just his like play-to-play durability, I'm not even talking about like the obvious, but he just doesn't ever get up slow. Ever. When he gets up slow, tweet me.
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't. Now, watch this weekend he's going to hang nail or something. But I think this is the game where QB run has to happen. And if you're blitzing, he has made a living on beating free runners. And so D'Amico's got to be careful with that. I just thought this game would be more hyped. And maybe that's just me not turning on the TV this week. But I think it's going to be an awesome game. And the Diggs reunion, or whatever you want to call it, revenge game, that should be cool too.
That's going to be really cool. It's going to be cool seeing them, handshake after the game. AFC North, Ravens at Bengals.
Yeah.
Ravens 2.5-point favorites. 49.5 is the total. Do you have a lean on this?
Yeah, I do. Like, honestly, and this is just my gambling brain, what's your first thought in the chat when you see Cincy only catching 2.5 points? What's your first thought in this room?
That it's handicapped about right.
Because
Cincy's good. They're not cooked, as Nate would say.
They're not cooked, but I think everybody knows, like, how many people can you put in the box? Like, is Ray Malaluga available? Can we get the support staff in the run front? Like, this is a Lou Anarumo back against the wall game. Like, is BJ Hill up? Is Rankins up? Maybe the line reflects them being up. You know what I mean? Like, and we don't know it yet. Because
Rankins hasn't practiced this week. BJ Hill is limited practice participant.
So maybe this is a game where it's guys, we need you. We'll figure it out. We'll piece you together on Monday. But like, this is a like all hands on deck game, because I think most people look at this and say like, this shouldn't be that close, right? The way these two teams have been playing. Like, do you really think that there's a scenario where Cincinnati doesn't give up 200 on the ground? Well, I feel like this might be a scenario where they keep it close. I really do. And like, this is Baltimore hot, riding high. Cincinnati, even after a Panthers win's got like national media members wanting to put them on the grill. Nate wants to cook them. And so I think this is going to be a really fun game. And the total seems high maybe to some people. I don't know. I think the total's right where it needs to be. This is a Kevin Harlan special.
So good.
I need Kevin. He's probably said it before. But has he said, Yoshibas? There's no name in the NFL that I need him to say more than that name. You know what I mean? That's a name I need to hear him say. And I need him to hear him say it a lot this weekend. The Bengals need this, man. I mean, if they could get this one, no one's going to be talking about them being cooked.
Yeah, I think a fun matchup in this game will be how rookie corner Nate Wiggins can match up against Chase and Higgins. Struggled a little bit versus Dallas. CD early on, mainly with the eyes. Like, he just, CD breaks off a route. He takes his eyes into the backfield.
Yeah.
Allows some separation there. I think you saw some improvement against Buffalo there, but I think if you're Zach Taylor, you're doing everything you can to scheme some matchups for Chase and Higgins on this guy and test him out.
Yeah, I get this idea from Ravens fans. I got another one of them in the chat. Lamar is 4-1 versus Burrow with like a laughing emoji. Like, we don't watch football, okay? But like, my man, it's kind of a situation where all that stuff goes out the window. These are two different teams. Like, this is week 4. I mean, like, I feel like the laughing emoji is like overcompensation for something. Like maybe the playoffs. And I love the Ravens, but it's just some of you guys. It can be a lot. Like, I know you've been through a lot because people talk so much shit about Lamar. I've never been that guy. coming to my chat laughing. Like, come on, I think it's going to be – it could be a good game. What are you – you're sure? You're sure? That's where you get into trouble. I just want to say this, like, last year, week 2, they blitzed 36% of the time. Week 11, a little less. I don't like being in man as a rusher playing against Lamar. As people in the chat even probably know, like, when you play man, everybody's back's turned to the offensive line, defensive line. And so they don't know when Lamar takes off. Lamar's got vision of the whole field. He runs right by you, and that can be the big one. Nate Wiggins matchup's big. I think like Cam Taylor-Britt, the benching, or rather rotation that they got going on that started last week. Like Lou Anarumo, evidently at the end of the game, they had a hug, and CTB was like, it's never going to happen again. This is a real pro football situation working itself out in real time. Like for everybody to see. This is the uncomfortable drama that can happen in an NFL room when a guy's not playing well, especially if he's been talking in the media, not playing well. And Lou, no bullshit. He's like, hey, if you're not playing well, I'm not going to play you, which is like where they are. You know, it's not about how you started the season. We are in crisis mode right now. So if you're not playing good football, I don't care if your name is Cam Taylor-Britt. I don't care if it's BJ Hill. I don't care if it's Sam. I don't care if it's like, I'm just going up and down the list. Pratt, whoever. Like, they're going to find ways to get it right. And so this week let's see. It's kind of a back against the wall game. Coming off a win as much as it could be. I don't want to overhype the I do want to play this one video. This is Tyler Linderbaum, who I've seen him play football, but sometimes when you see guys out of pads, it's more impressive.
Yeah.
The other day, Lamar and some guys were in the corner of the locker room.
No, Buffer.
Look at this.
Bro, Tyler, come out, bro.
Look at this kid. Look at this man.
Buffer, bro.
They're talking about him like he's an internet connection. They're calling him Buffered, but they're trying to say Buford.
Buffer, bro.
They're calling him Buford, the cartoon character, who I always thought looked like Howie Long. And that makes a lot of sense because Tyler Linderbaum looks like the illegitimate child of my dad if he was provided steroids. Like, this guy is enormous. He has a Stonehenge face. This has got to be the widest guy in the NFL. He's got to be one of the widest guys in the NFL. I don't think he shuffles through doorways. I don't think he can walk. If he's flown on a regional jet, he's never used the bathroom on a regional jet. He's fucking huge, dude. The guy's huge. Howie Long looking ass.
And they're comparing him to
Howie
Buford.
Wide. More like Howie Wide is what you look like, buddy. Sir.
Comparing him to Buford Van Stom. He's the bully of the town of Danville in Phineas and Ferb. He joins them on...
Is that the show, Phineas and Ferb?
Yeah. That's
because my kids watch that show now.
Yeah, there you go. They're going to see...
Oh, I'm going to show them that. They're going to be
video.
like, why is he calling him Buffered? I was wondering, I at first when I saw the video, I didn't know that cartoon character's name. I was like, why are they saying he's buffering? Like, and I'm not real good with the phonetic sounding out of names. Like, I fucked that up a lot. But that's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, that's
This
ridiculous.
kid's huge, man.
He's so big.
I mean, he's huge.
He matches this character perfectly.
He also is one of these kids that when you look at his picture when he first got to college, and then like 4 years later, it looks like he went to like a Ukrainian prison camp for 4 years, and he just came out with like this G.I. Joe haircut, and like his face grew, and he just looks. Look at his voice got deep, and now he's on the Ravens. So I like this guy. I just like the way he looks. He just walks around.
He just walks around. This is him in college. Nice little.
Look at that face, man.
I feel like you have talked about Ravens offensive linemen more than any other position group.
For sure.
Show.
We had John Simpson
last year, like and Rosengarten,
year.
who, by the way, now part of it was because Voorhees got hurt, but like I think they like that. You like that? Hey, John, you like that? Listen to the show. That kid can block. Rosengarten and Macari look good at guard, so I don't know what they do this week, but somebody said Linderbaum used to beat up Tristan Wirfs in wrestling in high school. They had like, it was a state of emergency when they they had a shelter in place when those two locked up, dude. That's insane.
shaking the building.
I just want to tell you something, and maybe I have an advantage here because I've actually seen some of these human beings, but like there are guys walking around, they're like, I can beat up a lot of people. I'm pretty tough. I'm a badass. You just don't know until you get in a room full of guys like that. I mean, until you try to play with one of these guys, like try to push Bufford around after a walkthrough, and he just picks you up, and you feel like a child. Kendall Langford picked me up one time, and my legs were kicking like in the air. I remember one time Aaron Donald and I were wrestling, and he was kind of mad at me, and he scooped me up, and I just felt helpless. There's just some individuals in the game, that, hey, if you want to fight me, I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police. Linderbaum, big motherfucker, Stonehenge looking ass.
Do you think there'll be signs from fans at the game? Ravens fans will hold up Buford.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Buford signs have to be on the. Okay, what's next? I mean, I'm looking forward to this.
This isn't quite a reunion.
Hey, and I want to say this to Ravens fans, just so you know, I'm busting your balls, but you guys are playing as good as anybody in the league right now. Yeah. Okay, so credit where credit's due, and hey, I picked the Bengals to win the North. I look like I'm wrong so far. Can't win them all. I'll tell you one division I feel like a genius, at least through 4 games. I don't enjoy like the Niners not having success because of the issues they're having, but I told you there might be a dip this year. Now, if they get Pearsall back and that sort of thing, we'll talk about that in a little bit, and maybe some comparisons that Nolan brought up to 2019 team. You can still be very bullish on this team, but the Seahawks look pretty good right now.
Really good.
Also took the Bills to win the East. Everybody said they were regressing.
The Seahawks' toughest game was against Bo Nix in his first start. I'll just say that.
But that's the problem. The Seahawks, go ahead. We'll go to the next game.
This isn't quite a reunion game on the field. It's more of a reunion game in the front office. Panthers at the Bears. This is back to the trade that gave the Panthers the number 1 overall pick to take Bryce Young, and the Bears got DJ Moore in a hole, and also the pick to take Caleb Williams. Now the Panthers GM who made that trade, he's not there anymore. Yeah. So you think Dan Morgan's probably going to meet Ryan Poles and be like, hey, that's not going to happen again. Hey, you sheriff in town.
No, and I also think it's just funny to like look at these two teams where it's like it's one team's defense that they just sold everything. This team sold everything. They just were like, hey, we're going to pick a quarterback, we'll sell everything. And the other team sold everything to get a quarterback.
Yep.
And one team's in hell, and one team's like got so much optimism because of the way they've stuck the landing on this thing. And I know I see it all the time in the comments. There are people that like, they don't watch the whole game. They don't watch tape. And they say, I don't see what you're seeing with Jaden Daniels. If you watch tape, you'll see what I'm seeing. I'll say this again. If Jaden Daniels becomes a guy that didn't pan out, they need to go back and study this month because it would be the biggest outlier in football history. I mean, he has 82% completion rate. They're great on 3rd down. They're great on 2nd down. They're great on 1st down. He's good on early downs. He's good with the quick game. He's good throwing. I saw this guy last night that posted every unpressured 15-plus yard throw from like every quarterback in the league, including Caleb. Like it's night and day between him and the other guys. The rookies, no offense, Bo Nix,
no, that's fine.
Guys. This guy, it's easy to say he's been playing shitty defenses. It doesn't matter who the defender is when he's throwing that ball in 3rd and 7 to end the game against Cincinnati. It doesn't matter on 4th down. In those moments, I want to see you deliver, and that's what he's done so far. Now, this is the week where, I've heard some people say, the Commanders are only given 3. That's what I expect. This is going to be hard. Like, they got some guys that can man up. This is going to be the first week in a couple weeks where I'm like, yeah, they have an advantage defensively, like with their cover guys. And they have an advantage up front with the rushers. And I think for Myles Garrett, it's going to be really interesting to play this Commanders group because he's got to play him 2 more times this year after Howie Roseman trades for him. So I'm really excited to see how Myles Garrett stacks up against this Commanders offensive line because he's going to see him a couple more times this year. I don't think I'm above texting Howie and being like, hey, have you thought about Myles Garrett? Listen, you got to make him pay for blitzing. It's a lot to ask a young kid to do. Ton of cover 1. We talked about McLaurin, Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Ward, Emerson, Newsome. Going to be interesting matchups, seeing how they carry these things, seeing how they disguise, seeing how much blitz they feel like they can give this kid. Because if they don't, that's like the ultimate respect. And if they blitz him, he's got to feel challenged to make it feel like disrespect. Look at the Buffalo game. Take some of those rub concepts, some of the little motions, some of the things that beat man coverage. I mean, like, you can do that to this team. And I think Cliff and the gang, or at least through the first quarter of the season, have showed that they really know what they're doing. They're intentional. And listen, Chubb is practicing. Chubb could make this offense look pedestrian, and that's a step up.
Yeah.
So listen, Chubb's an amazing player. He can turn things around to where they're competitive. That doesn't mean the quarterback's going to look like he's the guy you paid for. You could get Eckler back this weekend. I think this is going to be a sneaky, very good game. And I'm looking forward to it. I am. I really am. This is going to be fun.
Is this a game where Washington can really, like, it's a rookie quarterback. There might have been, hey, some circumstance deals why he's playing so well. Is this a game that against this coordinator, where if he turns it on and shows and
if he shreds this defense, I'm going to ask everybody to kindly, like, just step out of the way and let the professionals handle this. I'm not trying to be, but, like, if he shreds this group with Myles Garrett and he's not playing Deshaun Watson in the offense. He's playing this defense, and, like, I just hope that people will give the level-headed amount of respect that's due here. Like, us being blown away by the way this kid's played the first. Ask anybody in league circles. Like, it's not just podcasters. I got a Rolodex full of people in the league. If I text them, what does Jaden Daniels look like to you right now? They'd be like, man, this kid's going to be a problem. So we're just telling you what we see. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I went and did the Philly live show with Russillo the other night at the Fillmore. You guys know this? I didn't know it was at the Fillmore. I told you this on the podcast the other day.
Yep.
I was like, I texted him 30 minutes before, like, where is this thing? And what is it a surprise? Am I a surprise guest? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. And walk in, and there's 1,000 people in there. America's teams, Ryan Russillo's fan base, they love this guy. And I love him. But, quite frankly, the amount of love is it's staggering. I mean, they packed the Fillmore. And I had to tell all those people a couple things. First, I had to tell them you should be very afraid of Jaden Daniels. Don't say I didn't tell you so. Like, I keep it real. I keep it real with Eagles fans. And then on top of it, I told him that, like, you shouldn't be blaming last week's loss on the rushers, which was also an uncomfortable truth to hear. The rushers aren't great in Philly, but while we're on the topic, that ball's out. That ball is out on that tape. So, Eagles fans, you got second time I brought you up today. Who's next?
Colts at Jaguars. We've got the Jaguars are 2.5-point favorites. Do you like that line? 46 is the total.
Okay, I just want to address what up, JRK. I want you to repeat that playoff shit next week when the Bobcats are 1-4. I want you to go back to my social last year where I told you exactly what the fuck was going to happen in the playoffs, and it happened to a T, week 8. And you guys told me I was all wrong and I was stupid and I was a hater. I want you to go back and do that. I don't have to go back and do anything, my brother in Christ. Okay? You're the one who's got a dog in the fight here. I don't have a dog in the fight. I got to get to the other teams on the rundown. Okay? Jags, Colts. All right, let's do it. Hey, fuck, I'm fine being wrong. But what I'm not going to do is you tell me like you've been right all the time, you in the chat. Took a lot of lumps from y'all last year. We don't need to talk about it. Do you want to go back? We can go back. You want to go back? We can go back. All that playoff shit. Playoffs? Run the ball, buddy. You're in my mentions. Fucking write your senator. Like, drop by the Owens Mills complex and, like, write something to Todd Monken about running the football. All right, so who we got next?
Colts and Jags.
Colts and Jags.
Dr. Fax in Duval County.
They don't like being challenged, some of those fans. They really don't.
No.
Okay. Jags, Colts. Dr. Fax is en route right now. I was like, is he going down? Like, the background is Dr. Fax has been like very serious on the show the last couple of weeks, where he's been like, he puts on his like analyst voice and he's like, the Jaguars have to get this right. I do not understand what's going on with the Jaguars. Like, we can't have he does the we thing like I do with the Eagles. We can't have undisciplined play. And I'm like, damn, coach, what's going on? He's like, well, I got to go to Jacksonville next week. They're honoring the alumni, and we can't have these motherfuckers be 0-4 when I come back in town. You know, so Nate, he's making his pilgrimage back to Jacksonville.
He was in the chat earlier. He was hanging out.
Nate was in the chat?
Yeah, he landed right when he landed in Jacksonville. He was hanging out in the chat. He might still be in here.
Oh, my God, that's funny. I just realized Chris looks like if Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins did the fusion dance. You know what? You're on to something there. Because Baker looks like he could be one of my family members. Honestly. Baker looks like my little brother Howie.
He does.
He looks a lot like my little brother Howie. A lot like, and Kirk Cousins, I swear to you, somebody told me one time I looked like Kirk Cousins, and I didn't love it. But then I saw, you like that?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no big deal. I usually hear Bradley Martin, but he's too small. You know what I'm saying?
I
get in the gym, Brad. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, this is funny. Chris, kill one, marry one, fuck one. FedEx Field, Edward Jones Dome, Old Sombrero. The Old Sombrero, are we talking about Tampa? Where's the Old Sombrero?
Yeah. Here, right here.
I don't have any real experience. I probably want to fuck the Old Sombrero because, you know, that looks cool.
That does look cool.
But, you know, I want to marry the Edward Jones Dome. That's where I spent a lot of my time. You know, I had some good memories there. And then we've got to kill FedEx Field. We have to level that thing to the ground. We have to engineer a destruction of that stadium legally,
just
above board,
completely legally.
But
no one's in there.
I would like somebody to sign a petition where we demolish that thing, and they just have to figure out another place.
Would you think it would be better if FedEx Field just rots? Like, is that what it deserves?
Yes,
does it deserve like just a full? I think
FedEx Field deserves a desertion.
Yes,
to where like people don't go anywhere near it. It's like Chernobyl.
Yes,
there's like foliage growing.
Yep.
It's like I Am Legend.
Yep. There's like a line of
situation.
You can't get too close. You can't there's 20 or like 2 miles away from the stadium in any direction. You can't get too close or you'll be infected.
Or like Chris Cooley's in there. And he's like
he's just he's busting his
like zombie
walls,
Chris
like
Cooley,
that commercial. Yeah.
Like zombie former Washington Redskins and Commanders. Okay, anyways, Jags Colts. Is that where we are?
That's where we're. Yeah, that's where.
Because Nate's down there right now, shaking hands and kissing babies. I would not be surprised if Nate walks up to like Doug Peterson or some coach is like, Coach, I really want to talk to you about.
What are we gonna do this week? What do you got cooked up?
Early down calls or Ingram's back. That's a big deal. Here's the thing about Jags: you can't lose the fan base going in the London game. You know what I'm saying? You can't go to London after a bad loss to the Colts. You'll lose your fan base. That's where your bread is buttered. So they got to get a win this weekend. I think they win this weekend. Last week I told you they'd cover, even though I wasn't very confident and I gave it out. That was a hold your nose kind of pick. I think this is the game they win. They're actually laying points, right?
Yep.
So, Vegas is on it. I think most people are like the Jags. They're like the worst team in football. Here's what the Jags have. A young rookie receiver that I don't know if Trevor's the answer. But whoever enjoys him for most of their career is going to have a fun time.
He's like up at the top. I think he leads the league in receptions and is number 2 in receiving yards.
Yeah. Somebody said he doesn't move the needle. He catches 4-yard passes. Respectfully, I think he does move the needle because that's kind of what Trevor likes to do. Like if you haven't noticed, Trevor can't hit the 15-yard passes. So I think the quick game matters. And I think the allocation of resources in the middle of the field matters. And I think they'll win this game. I think the Colts lose another D lineman. Hurts. Is Richardson going to play? What do we got?
Unclear.
He's practicing on a limited basis. They're keeping it in house.
No, I don't want to but I went back and watched that tape. I don't know why they put Anthony Richardson back in the game and did quarterback run right
on the
away.
first play.
Shane's too smart for that. And listen, at the beginning of that game, they were moving the ball, explosives. One of the reasons that we were worried about Pittsburgh coming in was the amount of explosives that Indy does have, and they were able to break off a couple of those early in the game. Running back got hurt. Taylor's got an ankle. So Indy's kind of limping in. And, although they won that game, that's a physical game. I also go back and look at that tape. Shane did a great job on early drives of, occupying TJ Watt. If you want to know how to keep him out of a game early, later in the game, I don't know exactly how he played, but buzzing through the first half, I thought coming out, they just did so many things with alignments. As a defensive end, if you got a two-man surface, guard and a tackle, well, there's still things you can do to fuck with that end. You can put Michael Pittman in there way close to look like he's going to chip. He might just get out of there. It gives TJ a decision to make on whether or not he's going to bump outside him and tilt his track in. Because if you go speed track from outside a detached player, you're never going to get there. So you got to tilt in, get wide, tilt in, or you're going to slide in between Pittman and tackle, or they'd have Taylor offset to TJ Watt, give him something to think about in the read option game. They'd run read option, and Richardson actually came off the handoff, the mesh, and put a shoulder into TJ to keep him from wrecking the play. It was so obvious to me that they were the whole game plan, especially with Highsmith out, is let's just get this guy blocked. And I thought early on in that game to give them the breathing room that they needed to define the game and make Pittsburgh play from behind, which is not what they're doing, with regularity. They took care of him. So as a side note, if you're going to play the Steelers, this is a good little tape to watch early on. And then also, it just speaks to how smart Shane is. But in the same vein, he runs Richardson right back out there.
Yeah.
It
didn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense.
Let's say we hear news that Flacco's starting. Do you think the line would move? And if so, which way?
Bro, I'd be guessing, honestly. And my inclination is to say the line might move towards the Colts.
Same.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point, Matt, because this Jags defense, they allow a ton of explosive pass plays. So whether you have Joe or Anthony in the lineup with both those guys having big arms, those opportunities are going to be there for them.
Yeah. I think Shane is going to have these guys humming no matter who's on the field, but I just if Taylor's not healthy. And the offensive line's played very well, so that they should be able to block this front.
Quentin Nelson, quietly, our boy Quentin, he's one of the highest graded
he's a beast.
Guards.
He's just a beast. He's a Tyler
Every
Linden.
year he's up there.
He's another guy that, I'm going to have to get the strap, dude.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm fighting. He would kill me, dude. The guy, I spent time with him. He's in that class of people where I'm just sorry, sir.
Yep.
Let me get out of your way. All right. Miami, New England?
New England. Little interdivision battle.
I love these divisional games are kind of kicking up.
Mike McDaniel is 1-6 in games without Tua. And the Dolphins have not led in any point of their first 4 games. Their win came at the end of the game, the final seconds, field goal with no time left on the clock.
So I want people to understand something. I actually think Miami wins this game. I think Miami wins this game because there's a lot of injuries that are happening for New England. Obviously, there's major injuries for Miami as well, but they had their chances last week. There were some misses on those deep balls. There was Waddle fumbling the ball. There was all types of shit. There was a incredible cover. The over 37. I'm not going to talk about it again. But you got a ton of injuries. Bentley, isn't he your headset guy? You got Duggar, Peppers. You've got Stevenson fumbling, and Gerard Mayo might have to make his first big. Well, I'm kind of impressed. He sent Judon off, which so far seems like the right move. This team is not close, right? And it's not like Judon's down there with 5-7 sacks, unless I missed something. He wasn't going to help your defense in a way that you needed help this year. It's just not. So he did that thing. And then, now with Stevenson, you got a fumbler. And I'm sure we all love Ramondre Stevenson. Bill talks about him on Inside the NFL. He loves Stevenson. And it's just the thing with ball security where it's a huge deal up there. It always has been, and it should be a big deal anywhere. And if you're fumbling the ball, like Mayo having to sit him down maybe this week or it's just it gives you. Sometimes the only way to learn is to, and he might be a great guy who's like trying to get it right, but like until you really put your hand on that hot stove, you don't know as a player. Mm-hmm. And sometimes like feeling shit, my reps are getting cut into, that can actually send the message. And so we'll see how they carry that thing. But Jacoby wasn't good last week. He was not good. And then I want to mention the last injury, David Andrews. So
that's
a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
That's a big deal. That's like if Sansa Stark or one of these queens in Game of Thrones, she has like a number 1 bodyguard and then a number 2 bodyguard. The number 2 bodyguard just got killed, and now it's just Jacoby. Yeah. So shit has gotten real. If this is a game of chess, we're it's getting down to it. And so I don't know. I asked you earlier who was like Cersei's. What was her name? Cersei's number 2. Mm-hmm. Like whoever that was. That's like if they got killed, and now it's down to like the mountain.
Right.
And Jacoby Brissett is your mountain. That's not good. Like so, if you're Drake May,
they're about the same speed.
Yeah, exactly. But Drake May should not play. Like I don't care how bad this gets. I heard somebody say like, if it gets a little worse, Drake May might play. You have said by starting the season with Jacoby, in my opinion, now they might not agree with me, that we are punting on the beginning of this season. We are punting on this season a little bit. Like, and that's a reality in the NFL. As a player, I hate punting on the season. I spent over half of my career, my entire prime, feeling like we were punting on seasons at times. But you have to respect this process. You started the process. It would totally defeat the purpose. Imagine saying, we're not going to start this kid because we want to protect him, only to start him because it's gotten so bad that we can't protect Jacoby Brissett.
And you saw it in like the 5 snaps he got in. It was one of the games week 2 maybe that he came in and he almost got killed there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, you guys commit to this for the whole season.
Every time we talk about Drake May and this team, we should have that meme up of the soldier covering the baby. Because Jacoby just got to keep covering the baby.
He's doing the Lord's work.
He's doing the Lord's work.
He's doing it. Every Patriots fan should buy Jacoby's jersey and just frame it for eternity.
Yeah, he should be given a cut of Drake May's endorsements when it's time.
Yep.
All right, so lots of illegal shifts for the Dolphins. A lot of like pre-snap, a lot of like post-snap, a lot of like easy stuff looking hard because this is such a timing offense. And I just want to push back on something. I explained this the other day. There are people that are actually trying to turn this into a, hey, Tua's better than you thought thing. That's not the case. Okay, the case is this offense is perfectly suited for that guy, and he ran it really well. And while I have qualms about the ceiling of that offense with him running it, the floor, if he's not throwing the ball to the other team and he's not getting blasted in the pocket, is actually pretty high. The floor, especially against bad teams. The reason this floor has looked so low is because they have been insistent on keeping things pretty much the same, and Huntley's had like a week of practice with the guys. Now he's got 2 weeks. So hopefully you see if Mike McDaniel is like a really good coach, who I do think as a scheme guy he is. We'll see if he can get this team reeled in and like discipline them a little bit. We'll see if they're going to be better this week. I think 2 weeks of practice is way better than one. Mm-hmm. It's infinitely better than one. It's not 2 times better than one. It's 5 times better than one. Doesn't make sense to y'all, but it's true. Like, to just get some continuity, some timing, something as simple as a swing pass. In this offense, there's a lot of moving pieces. So I do think it speaks to the efficiency with which Tua runs this computer. But just because he knows the software better than the other guys, and they're going to struggle with it the first 2 weeks, doesn't mean that somebody else couldn't run this software. You know what I mean?
100%.
It's going to be a transition if he's not going to play a lot this year. And the one thing I would indict Mike McDaniel on is like, and Chris Greer is like, why don't we have a better backup quarterback? One that's more ready to play. It just felt like, hey, Skylar Thompson's a guy that we played before, but there should be a heightened awareness going into this year with Tua's injury history and everything is like, maybe we need to invest in a guy like that. And I might be, Dolphins fans, I might be missing, some opportunity y'all had and the whole thing. I think also somebody made a really interesting point too, is left-handed.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
It's so true. It's so true. There's so many things about like them cornering themselves with this QB to where like he's the only guy that can run it. And one thing he does is process really well. Fast. The thing he has trouble with is coloring outside the lines. If you have paint by numbers, and he'll do paint by numbers quicker than anybody. And that's a skill. That's not a backhanded compliment. Now you got to find a guy that can do that like him. And I don't know if it's Snoop. I don't know if 2 weeks is going to do that. But I do think it started out as maybe you should trade for Bryce is kind of a joke. But whether it's this year or next year, you have to find a way to have a guy as an option.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know when Tua's coming back.
Right.
And I think evidence to him maybe not coming back soon is they haven't tried to change the offense much. People try to compare it to Green Bay. Number one, you've been let down by your personnel people. You can't play with physicality. You've got really fast backs. Everything's about getting on the edge and out-leveraging people and window dressing and scheme. But, at the end of the day, you have to be able to pound the ball a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they just can't do that to the degree that, Green Bay can. So, why are they not doing what Matt LaFleur is doing? Well, it's twofold. Number one, the personnel. And number two, Matt LaFleur knows that in a couple weeks we're going to go back to Jordan Love. So let's win some spot starts and do something different. To me, it feels like he's going to be out a while, so we have to, figure out how to go here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think – I know there's some people in the chat that might think, oh, no, somebody Miami, New England can be yawn fest. No, bro, I'm betting the over. We should be betting the over, chat. Chat, let's bet the over this weekend. Send me a bill, okay? Because I've been right on these games that land on 37 totals. I'll just say this. I said this on the show the other day. Mike McDaniel, I believe in the guy. I really do. Part of that maybe is for me because I'm partial and I don't think the quarterback's the right guy. And I think that this offense could be even better with another guy. But let's table that. He's been dealt a deck of cards this year that, this is where you got to prove it. This is where you got to be the fixer. And for guys that say, fire Mike McDaniel, I read some shit like that on X. Reading something on X doesn't make it real, right? But never has. But, if 100 people are talking about firing Mike McDaniel, that's 100 people that aren't seeing the big picture. Because if you fire Mike McDaniel, walk me through the process of hiring a new coach next year. Oh, we got this quarterback who can only run his system. And you just paid him. What are we doing? It's not even on the table to let this guy go. Let him go and see what happens. Please, by all means, because that would be the weirdest job next year to walk into. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how you would walk into that and be like, yeah, so I got this big QB contract. The guy, I don't even know if he's healthy. We'll see. And then on top of it, oh, yeah, he knows the software. It's kind of like Reed, if you have a machine back there that you know how to run the best, and then you die and go somewhere else. And all the secrets are trapped in that machine and we can't get – you're the one guy who can run that machine. You know what I mean? And so it's going to be a shit show if they do let him go. Last thing I want to say is I feel for Jalen Phillips, man.
Man, yeah.
I love Jalen Phillips. I met him at the Super Bowl. Just a great dude, a down-to-earth, good person. And I love to see that because I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of his game. I think Jalen Phillips can be one of the best rushers in the league. He's got that kind of talent. The injuries, you can't control things like this. And as somebody who went through that a couple years of my career, luckily for me, I'd already put together a stretch of play where I could feel like I'm established. This guy's trying to establish himself as one of the premier guys in the league, and I think he can be that. But he's got bad luck going again on IR.
2 seasons.
And man, hang in there. I hate that. I hate to see that. And tough players play in the NFL. These injuries hurt, but I think the worst injuries are the mental toll.
Yeah.
That it takes your confidence. You're talking about every season in the NFL, you have to work so hard to just get out there. You spend your whole season for 17 weeks, 17 Sundays. And when you get rolled up on or you get hurt and all that work is all for naught, like it is a really tough – it's a tough league to get back into when you're hurt. And he'll be fine. He's young. I just hope he keeps his head up because he's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player.
Great rusher.
And people see you. People see you, bro. Just hang in there. Keep getting back up. I'll remind you of the meme. I would pull this meme up, Reed. The meme with not the Drake May meme, but my favorite meme. You know my favorite meme? It's the one with the diamond miners.
Oh, where he almost gets
right
the
here.
diamond.
I got it on my my computer right here.
Yep.
But I would pull this one up for old Jalen Phillips. Pull that bad boy up. And for anybody in the chat who's going through some shit right now, hand up, myself included. Sometimes you're just like, hey, what do I have to do to get my life together? What do I have to do to get my career together? It's just a bad luck, bunch of bullshit going on. Look at this. Never give up, man. We had this in the D-line room in St. Louis, and I walk by it every day, and I was like, psh, I was like Ed Bassmaster. Psh. But I had that moment in my career where I was like, hey, I was almost the guy at the bottom, but you just keep chipping away. You never know. And I think for Jalen, his story is far from over. Hang in there, brother. And anybody in the chat, you look at that fucking meme right there. You tell me memes don't help people?
So you've got this meme for everybody watching. You can see it on screen.
Because there are audio listeners too. Yeah. It's a guy with a pickaxe up top, and he's like maybe 8 feet from this big diamond, like
diamond cache.
Like a cache of diamonds. And then the guy on the bottom, he's walking the other way. He's giving up. He's got his pickaxe on his back.
He's probably
just an inch away.
2 strikes away from the diamond.
Keep swinging that fucking pickaxe, man.
Keep swinging.
You never know.
We head to the 4 p.m.s now. We've got Cardinals at 49ers. 49ers are favored by 7.5. Is that a big number for a team like the Cardinals that have been playing pretty well this season so far?
That's a big number, but the Cardinals can't stop anybody, which is why we've talked about them being buyers at the trade deadline. I think, getting McBride back helps. You got a Matt Prater injury, DNP.
Yep.
When do they ever pee? I didn't know they ever peed. I didn't even know we were counting fucking kicking a football as practice. Anyways, DNF didn't fuck around all day and play video games. Kicker
didn't play FIFA this week.
Didn't play FIFA. Yeah, I mean, I used to play Johnny Hecker in FIFA. And I'd be like, man, what have you been practicing? He's like, all day. When you're out there, getting CTE, I'm in here scoring goals.
Working on my game.
Yeah, through passes and shit. He's running sets. He's changing the sets. He's running a 4-4-2 with I don't know. I'm just like, it's all standard for me. So what's the next game? Arizona, San Francisco. Did we forget Carolina, Chicago?
We brought it up. Yeah,
you did?
We mentioned it. Carolina, Chicago.
Briefly.
That's a reunion
and then
game
you started
where
talking about Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. I thought you wanted to breeze by.
I'm having a hard time. I will say
it's
this
all
about
good.
Carolina, Chicago. It is the Bryce Bowl again, but he's not going to be playing. It reminds me of the Winston Churchill quote that I really like from the movie with
Darkest Hour?
the guy who built the bomb, Oppenheimer.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm paraphrasing, and I don't even know if it's Winston Churchill. It might be Albert Einstein, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, Winston Churchill's not in that movie.
Somebody said this. They said, I don't know what weapons World War III is going to be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Albert Einstein.
In the movie. Okay, so this reminds me of World War IV. Last year was supposed to be World War III, where it was like the Bryce Bowl, and now it's like we don't even care about the Bears offense anymore. Do you remember what a big deal this was? We thought we were going to be Caleb Williams all year.
Yeah.
All year. We're going to be watching high-flying offense all year. Not only are we not watching a high-flying offense, we're not watching. Yeah. I'm watching.
Yeah.
But, motherfuckers aren't watching. And we're only 4 or 5 weeks in the season. And it does look like sticks and stones compared to what I thought it was going to look like. I mean, I didn't think it was going to look that good, but I do call the play caller into question. On the record, I think Caleb's going to be hopefully fine. I haven't given up on that kid, but he has missed a lot of balls that I thought were going to be his strength. I think the coordinator doesn't help. I think they just got started running the football. I don't think they have an identity offensively. I don't think they move the pocket enough for this kid. I don't think DJ Moore's happy. He's not catching deep balls this year. He looks unhappy, visibly unhappy. He's like hanging out on the bench alone and shit. The vibes are not good. And then in Carolina, they're not even playing the guy that they were hoping would beat the Bears and prove them right anymore. So it's just post-apocalyptic here.
To his credit, though, to Bryce Young's credit, he is bringing the vibes on the
his vibes are amazing.
Andy Dalton. I mean, could there be a player that's handling that any better?
Yeah.
He is. And if you're Caleb, if you wanted a game where you could really show the NFL what you could do, the Panthers rank dead last in pressure rate, and they're 26th in coverage grades. So this is a game.
This is the game they can get right. For sure, and it is in Chicago, and I am waiting for this team. Again, like I said, if they can get the quarterback right, they can be scary. Part of getting the quarterback right is going to be getting the offense right. You can't put it all on him. Just like I told you last year, you couldn't put it all on Bryce. I think Caleb has impressed me with his toughness, his willingness to stand pat in the pocket. Mm-hmm. He's back there like Kirk Cousins on some plays.
Yeah.
And the pocket's closing in on us. He's small. I'll give him this. He's a tough kid. For all the shit people talked about him, the nails, the purse. Don't get beat up with that purse now.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is back there.
He'll bring it.
Standing pat, bro. He's a strong kid, and he's a tough kid. Now we just got to throw the football. The thing we thought would come easy. It's funny. We had him as this pretty boy guy from Southern California. He's an SC quarterback. He cried after the game. I challenge the people in the chat to stand in the pocket. I don't care how much it costs to buy that fucking mansion or how big that lakeside mansion is or how. None of that matters when you're in that pocket.
When it's closed, yep.
None of that matters how much money is in his damn bank. I'm just telling you, that kid has got some toughness. I'll give him that. But I will say, the other guy just looks a little better right now, looks a little more pro-ready. And, again, here we are in the Bryce Bowl, Part 2, without Bryce. We're 5 weeks in, and the point is that, the Bears should be, front-page news, judging by the way it was going to be coming in the offseason. But these games are just finding their way into the middle of these breakdowns, into some of the B crew, calling these games, and it's just not as big a deal. I don't know who's calling this game this weekend, but Carolina-Chicago is not a marquee game.
Not one. A marquee game that's going to be on the big screen on the 4 p.m.s.
Can I finish
Please.
On San Francisco, Arizona? I'm sorry to bounce around, chat,
Please.
but I want to give the Niners fans their due. You're one of the best teams in the league if you're healthy. A couple things. Brock Purdy's been steady. I like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a guy that when everything's gone to shit for a lot of teams, they're not going to shit because Brock Purdy's playing bad, and going to shit for them is not really that bad at all. They're just working things out. They got to stay in the West, right? You got to keep up with Seattle, who's got New York this weekend. Arizona is a cagey team, dude. They scored 29 on you last week in that second game. Team totals 21.5, by the way. I took the over on that for Arizona, but here's my big thing about the Niners and something that they should probably have a conversation about, or we should out loud. Never thought I'd be saying this. Jordan Mason's usage. Guy's got 387 carries, most since DeMarco Murray, and with 392.
Yards.
Yeah.
What? Oh, carries?
Yards.
Fuck, what am I doing?
I was
He's
that's
got
a lot of
how
carries.
how many carries does he have?
He's got
That's a lot of fucking mileage, dude.
91 carries, 447 yards.
Oh, he's on pace for 387 carries.
Okay, yeah.
So I am right. I'm wrong and I'm right. He's on pace for 387 carries. If that holds, Jordan Mason is going to have the most since DeMarco Murray had 392. Wow. I forget what year it was. I read this week. I mean, that's insane to me. His usage is something we got to talk about because Christian McCaffrey's got double Achilles tendonitis. It just doesn't you can say he's had Achilles tendonitis his whole life since he was a baby because he probably came out of the womb walking. But it's a problem. And so if I'm one of these other running backs, like give me the ball a little bit, like or put Deebo Samuel back there.
Yeah.
Get an 11 personnel, put Deebo Samuel back there.
392 for DeMarco came in 2014 with Dallas.
Now Nolan made a point earlier that I wanted to raise to the chat and see what y'all thought. But like when talking about the viability of this team long term this season, it would be smart to be bullish on them rounding back into form if they can get healthy with or without Christian McCaffrey, because look at the 2019 team. You made this point, Nolan. You're like, I don't know. I think this team might be better in a lot of ways. I mean, the D-line is not as dominant, but
right. Yeah, like
they got to the Super
you
Bowl.
could make an argument for the defense.
Yeah.
You know, Armstead, Buckner, rookie Bosa, you know, in the front there. But honestly, I think this D-line in San Fran is pretty good in its own right.
Yeah.
And, you know, the QBs, Jimmy G versus Brock, you know, Brock is playing really, really well. And to your point about Mason, obviously with CMC, you miss the third down element.
Yeah.
But they're still running the ball really well. And obviously, 2019 they made a run and that predated CMC. So I think for Niners fans, it's, you know, like you're saying, like stay bullish on this team.
Doesn't it kind of go back to the whole running back designation thing? Because if you're saying we missed the running back, actually we can make the running back thing work, but it's everything Christian does outside of being a running back. It's it's the window dressing, it's the motion, it's the if you motion Jordan Mason, you're like, he's only going to do a certain amount of things in the pass game. Or I don't want to sell the kid short, but like Christian McCaffrey, the reason you make that trade and you take that big swing is because you're like, he's a
starting caliber slot receiver.
He's
in addition to being a running back. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what you're missing. So it's easy to say like, hey, the running game is picked up and it's just where it needs to be. Here's what I worry about with the running game. This kid's wheels falling off, and then who you got?
Who you got?
So anyways, Arizona, San Francisco should be a fun game. I liked your point about 2019, Nolan, because for Niners fans, if you really do look at the rosters, like I tried to poke holes in it because from where I'm looking, I'm like, they are not the same team, but maybe they kind of are. And they beat like a couple good teams in the playoffs. Like not like that 2019 team didn't get there beating 13-3 teams. Like they beat the Packers. I can't remember who else they beat, but
it was the Vikings in the divisional, and then Packers in the NFC title game.
Yeah, so this team is still dangerous, and the way they talk about Pearsall, like they talk about him with confidence. Like they're sticking their neck out on the line a little bit more every time they open their mouth up about him because they're like, he's really good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Coach Shanahan said this week when they were talking about him returning to practice, said he is a hell of a football player. Yeah, which I agree. It is. Before really seeing him in game action, it's interesting that they're getting out ahead of it.
Yep, for sure. Who's next, Cowboy?
The big game that we're going to really be worried about on Sunday. It's 4 p.m.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have it probably on all TVs just so we can see replays if we need to.
Bro, I cannot wait for this game.
Raiders, Broncos.
I cannot wait for this game. They say they're doing 1977s. Pull up the 1977s, preferably a picture of PS2.
The best part about
wearing the 1977s.
The best part is every player is so stoked. PS2, he was like, hey, I can't wait to wait. Zach Allen's like, I want to wear this every week.
This is a real thing.
I'm not trading my jersey with anybody. Not doing it.
This is a real thing. It's
going to be the best.
Cowboy, this is a real thing. Best. Look good, feel good, play good. This is real. And if you got to bust out the jerseys as you wore in 1977 to win the Super Bowl and vanquish the Raiders, I believe, in the AFC Championship to break an 8-game curse. Like, I don't know if you guys got to kill a goat or something.
This is what we need to do.
No, honestly, I started jotting down. The things I was Googling, I was afraid to Google. It was like voodoo rituals. And like, what does Cowboy Reed need to do to break this streak? This morning on the way in, I was like, I'm going to print a picture of Howie Long and you can set it on fire. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Don't kill the fungo, dude.
I'm not going to kill it because I hate bad juju and stuff, but we're just going to put it right here. It's going to sit right there.
Yeah.
Until the Broncos win on Sunday.
You want to smoke him out?
Yeah, we'll smoke.
Smoke him out.
There are the jerseys. Look at those jerseys.
Ripped half of this thing last night at the damn concert. No, this
look at those.
These jerseys are incredible. Also, Zach Allen he looks like he could sell insurance, but he's one of the best fucking rushers in the NFL, dude. I love that. I keep going, Zach.
He's the man.
Keep going, bro.
Look at that.
I know people are like, some people, when they read your name and we put, well, Zach Allen. Zach Allen, people need to pay attention to this guy. This franchise has held him down a little bit, and now it's coming around to where the defense is good enough with Vance Joseph and the way they're playing up front. The edges they were setting on the goal line made me want to play football again, made me miss running full speed into a pulling guard, made me miss torpedoing into a fucking split zone tight end. It made me miss when people used to come across and try to cut us, and we'd be like, we're going to cut the cutter. It'd be a 6-inch off the ground collision, and the tight end would say, why are you doing that? And I'd say, why are you doing that, motherfucker? I miss that shit, dude. I miss playing the Niners and getting in a 4-eye and putting hands on Anthony Davis. Oh, I miss it. I miss it watching the Broncos, man. You do that to me, man. The front seven for the Broncos. God, I feel fucking charged up right now thinking about the way they played the Jets. And that's how they got to play this weekend. You want to break the streak? Take it into your hands, man. Take it into your hands, dude.
And I think I got
it's all up front.
I got to the bottom of why we have a loss streak to the Raiders.
You got to the bottom of it. I was looking a lot. Go ahead.
So our last win was 2019
when the Oakland curse.
Yes, it's Oakland
curse.
It's we've never beaten the Raiders since they've been in Las Vegas. The last season in Oakland, the first time around, 1981.
Yeah.
The Raiders lost in Week 16 to the Chargers.
Yeah.
The Raiders then went on a 7-game win streak against the Chargers when they moved to L.A.
Wow.
It's the same deal. So while we have 8 games, this is it. This is going to be it because we found the curse. We figured out what needed to happen. The last Broncos win was December 29th, 2019. 24 days later, the Raiders announced they were moving to Vegas.
April 29th, 1992. There was a riot in the streets. Tell me, where were you? If you don't like Sublime, fuck you.
That's right.
There's a lot of people thumbing their noses at Sublime these days, like, oh, Sublime. They were like...
They're playing again with Bradley Noel's kid as their lead singer.
Does he sound like him a little bit?
Yes, they're good.
That's super cool, man. I want to go see him. I love Sublime, bro. You can call me whatever you want to. I love Sublime, bro. All right. What was I gonna pull up? Oh, I got to pull this thing up. Let me pull this thing up because I was looking at some of this shit and pull up like this bro. It is incredible some of the things that have happened over this eight game span, dude. They lost in overtime in 2022 when Russ threw away a pass instead of sliding.
Yes,
like they shouldn't have been in overtime. Okay,
not at all.
This game was incredible, dude.
That game we were leading with 16-13 with 1:43 left. The Raiders then drove 71 yards in 7 plays.
Dude, this is so fucking funny. I was on my way up to that concert last night just looking through this stuff. 2021 was hilarious.
That was
funny.
the...
I'm sorry,
no, I know.
But they lost to him 3 times in a calendar year.
Yes.
So 3 times in 1 year.
Yep.
Okay? They lost for 2020 in the last game in 2021, and they lost twice. They lost 1 game on a blocked field goal.
Yep.
They also got interim head coached that year. They got Bisaccia.
Yep.
Okay. Look at this fucking game. 8:31 to go in the game. It's 24-24. Jerry Jeudy, 92-yard pass from Drew Lock. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Brandon McManus kick. It's 31-24. This game's over. Nope. Not until Darren Waller catches a pass from Derek Carr on a 2-point conversion, right?
Yeah.
2-point conversion to Waller.
Yep.
Instead of tying it, they
went for 2 because in the season prior they had done the same thing. We were up 16-3. The Raiders came back 16-15. They go for 2, and Shelby Harris bats down the pass. They did the same thing a year later in 2020. And
this is pain, bro.
Oh, it's been pretty brutal.
I think this game Las Vegas had 14 penalties, 111 yards, and they still won.
Yep.
Do you have to kill a sheep?
We have to do.
Do you have to do?
No, it's going to be.
Do you have to cut a goat open?
I'm just.
Chat. What do we have to do?
Rubbing my Howie Long fungo. Tapping the head.
Chat. What do we? No, this is not enough. I need you to like. I don't want you because I like my fungo. It would actually make me feel like you're gonna hurt my dad. Like if you killed this fungo.
No, I don't want to kill
my dad and be like, "Are you okay?"
That's what I'm saying. The fungo's saying I'm
But if you lit a picture of my dad on fire, I think that would be visual.
Okay, yeah.
We could burn his Football for Dummies book that he authored.
Don't burn that. Like, get a Firestorm picture. Like, get the Firestorm poster and set it on fire out in the street this weekend.
Okay.
Like, I don't care. Freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? It's a free country. Everybody's like, you can't burn a picture of Howie Long.
I can when we're winning this game.
But this is just unreal. There was one game I looked at this and they had like the exact same amount of yards, the exact same amount of first downs, the exact same amount of penalty first downs. They had it was insane. It was Vegas had one more yard.
Yeah.
They had one more yard. So, anyways, I think the big X factor in this game is, if you remember, like on a serious football note, like the Broncos have been beating everybody because Surtain keeps taking away their best receiver. And I think it's brilliant of the Raiders to not have a good receiver.
Great call.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Honestly, checkmate. Like,
what are you going
to do?
We already took away everybody.
What you going to do now? What you going to do now? Also, on the topic of Devontae Adams, I think people trading for him should pay attention to this hamstring issue.
It's there.
It's like he's got a hamstring issue. How about the hamstring issue? Is that going to be okay? There's a picture of there's a video of a dog who's like just scooting on his.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is Devontae Adams. As soon as he gets up and starts running.
Sprint.
Oh, I love memes. You know, that's what the internet's good for. Stuff like that. When I start, like I told you, when it jumps from like, I want to see somebody fight a fair one in the street to like, hey, do you want to see this guy flattened by an 18-wheeler? The algorithm is broken. Yeah. I don't need to see that. I just wanted to watch a fight video. All right, who's next?
Packers at Rams.
Oh, sneaky good game.
Packers favored by 3, 48.5 is the total.
Packers are 9-1 in their last 10. This is another streaky situation.
Yeah.
And these streaks,
dating back to 07.
These streaks matter, you know, like maybe not as much in this game, I guess, because like there have been some like, I don't know. I don't want to say it doesn't matter. It fucking matters. I've been on a team that lost 7 straight to Seattle. I've been on a team that lost, you know, like 7 straight to San Francisco. I think like, honestly, the sick joke for me was when I finally beat Seattle, period, I think. We beat them up there. Wow, we really didn't beat Seattle.
While you were there?
Until the 8th time. That's in a row. No. We had a 7-game losing streak. So that's fucking pathetic. We just kicked their ass up front. We still lose. We lose like 9-7. But I remember like it was my last year and I was just a shell of myself and playing on a broken leg, like trying to come back and shit. I think I was drinking a little whiskey before the game. It was like it was an ugly scene. You know, just trying to like a little fucking pain, a little pain med, a little pain off, a little Ultram, little swig, little Marshawn Lynch swig, right? And I was out there just a shell of myself, but I got to watch us kind of like, I didn't make any damn plays. It was a joke. I was watching my teammates beat Seattle, and it was the most bittersweet feeling. It was like, well, at least they got him one time before they cut me. I just hope for some of these players, like the Broncos guys, they get to like really feel what streak end.
Yeah.
Feel like they're a part of it going forward.
Well, we
like,
did it last year. The Chiefs.
Feels like you're building, dude.
Yeah, right?
I'll tell you what, man. Not to go back to the Broncos again. I was excited about the way they played defense. Here's what I want to say about this game. The Packers defensive line has to smell blood. Like, that's got to be it. Like, we got to see a lot of Stafford faces. You know what I mean by that? Like the like the slow motion, like, fuck, is he
real
okay?
Squinty.
That's what you got to see if you're the Green Bay Packers. Like, you've got the advantage up front. There are injuries. This is a group that can really make his day uncomfortable. Like, Stafford's at the age where, and so is Rodgers, every hit adds up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you can be a factor by hitting. You hit a young quarterback. You hit Josh Allen. I'm like, is he, like, am I okay? You know, like, it's not. You hit some of these older guys over and over and over again in a game. You burp them. You know, like, I know some of it is like, hey, you can't land on quarterbacks and stuff, but, like, how about a nice form tackle? You know, that was football 5 years ago. I'm not saying play dirty, but I'm saying you gotta get to Matt Stafford. You got to hit him. You got to hit the guy. And so, I mean, like, this has got to be a game where he feels Rashawn Gary's presence. He feels Kenny Clark's presence. And Matt Stafford is as tough as anybody in the game. But I think he's going to need that toughness this weekend because this group is going to be teeing off if they can get back there. And so, Rams not good on third down. You got to stop the run and get them there. I just want to raise this question to the chat. Is Jaden Reed the most underrated offensive player in the NFL? Is he the best offensive player in the NFL that nobody talks about? Like, I don't know what's keeping us from having this conversation everywhere. I mean, like, I
got some numbers here for you, Chris.
Yeah, hit me with it.
6 receivers who have eclipsed 370 yards in the first 4 games this season. Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Justin Jefferson, and
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, dude. And his skill set is so unique. Out of that whole group, his versatility is crazy. I mean, Neighbors is incredible. We'll talk about him in a second, even though he's not even playing the game. Thank God he exists, so there's something to talk about with the Giants. Okay, but like this Packers-Rams game, if you're watching this game, if you haven't watched the Packers, watch the receiving core in general. But like Jaden Reed, very, very underrated player. He's going to be a star, a household name over the next 5-10 years.
Just a beast. Last 4 p.m., we've got Giants at Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 6.5 points. Andrew Catalong, Tiki Barber, Jason McCourty, and A.J. Ross. That game is on CBS. Is that going to be one of the? Are we going to be what?
I like that there's 4 p.m.
Yeah,
we'll have them all up. The one that I'm going to be focused the most intently on is Denver. I'm going to bet the house on the Denver Broncos. You and me, buddy. What do you say? No. There's a pound. That's a bad start to our week. No, let's try that again. We're going to bet the Broncos. Yep. All right. So basically, I think this game is about Seattle coming off a loss, hopefully getting some guys back, and continuing to build because they are building something. I really feel that way. Like they're ascending. That game last week, I know Detroit had some guys banged up too, but there were some key spots that Seattle was banged up. If you wanted a chance to beat a better team like Detroit, like you had to be perfect, and they weren't. And Jared was perfect. Jared got the play action going. 12 out of 18 of his completions play action, and so I look at this game and I say it's an opportunity to get right.
Are you worried about the Campbell hangover that you've mentioned?
The Campbell hangover might keep this thing close. As I've mentioned, Cardinals, Rams, Bucks all suffered from Campbell hangovers so far this season. And if this team loses this game, it is a thing, bro. You might as well rest your starters when you play Detroit. I wish the team started just trotting out the back. It would be a major mind fuck. But I just think missing Neighbors, he's such a big deal. He's so much of this offense. What he did to that he's out.
Officially ruled out per Schefter 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, so I mean, like, people are rushing to bet the Seahawks, and because of the hangover, if this thing swells to like 8 points, maybe bet the G-men. I didn't say that out loud. If you're a real sicko like me, this is the type of stuff the FBI reports you for happening on your phone, betting the Giants. Like I'm gonna have guys with suits at my door. They're going to talk to you about your browsing history. I'm like, dude, I'm totally normal. I mean, what do we do? Was it the Brandy Love cameo? No, you bet the Giants last week without Malik Neighbors. I just think, like, if this thing swells, maybe, because one thing the Giants have, I'll say this, and I want to shout these guys out once again. And I read earlier in my mentions this week that, like, I've always been critical of Thibodeau. I have not really always been critical of Thibodeau. I don't think so. I think what I've said about him is, like, he's better than people actually are willing to admit. I didn't think he was going to be the best guy in the class. That's ended up being Hutch, but I do think he's come along, man. Like, and we can't ignore double-digit sack production. He's had that when you get double digits in the NFL. At the very least, people need to give you your respect as, like, a damn good rusher, or you have that in you. And I watched them in that primetime game last week against the Cowboys. By the way, what Neighbors did to that guy early in the game. I texted Ryan Clark. I said, "Is that bad or good? Like, is that bad? Is that more bad on the DB or is that more good?" And evidently, it's a little of both, as it always is. But Neighbors. Where was I talking about this dog shit team?
You were talking about the play last week. You texted Ryan Clark.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the edge guys.
Yeah,
I just want to say this: like Thibodeau, Burns, guys like that. They're playing for the love of the game. I'm not saying this team's out of it, but on a weekend like this, you're down Singletary, Neighbors, you got to put the whole thing on your back and be like, hey, we can win the game. I don't know if Singletary's out.
Yeah, sure. He's going to practice today.
But even if he's up,
still up in the air.
Even if he's up, if you want to win a game and you're the New York Giants, you need these two guys to bring it. And I thought they brought it against the Cowboys. And honestly, I think it was a big indictment on the Cowboys where they are as a roster, that they were in that dogfight with this team. Even down the guys they were down. They were Dak Prescott, who's another classic quarterback from Danny Dimes. They're in this game late in the game, and I think that's goes to show you how far Dallas has fallen in some ways. But coming out of that game, I wanted to shout out those two ends and Andrew Thomas, who played really well. So they are building some good things there, but right now they're kind of handcuffed. I just think the ceiling is very visible. The ceiling is not the roof for them. The ceiling is the ceiling. Okay? I was in I walked in this house last night, had to be 40 feet tall. You're telling me you don't want your ceiling to be the roof in that building? You're standing on the first floor? Michael Jordan was making a lot of sense. And I cannot believe for all these years y'all have been giving him shit about that. He was telling the God's honest truth.
100%. You think about the rooms that he was in, they're probably pretty big.
Yeah.
All those big mansions?
Yeah. Multiple stories. The ceiling is the roof.
Ceiling is the roof.
He knew what he was saying. Y'all didn't know what he was saying.
Big time.
So Giants have won 38% of games where they were dogs by 4 or more points since 2022. That's the 8th best win percentage in the league. That's wild. I think this might be time to – and also on the Neighbors thing, I don't remember a rookie wide receiver and maybe I forgot, chat, but over the last 20 years, it's been a bigger part of an offense. And I don't mean a necessarily good offense, but this guy is, I've read tweets that were he's going to save Danny Dimes. I don't know how I feel about this. He can change things for this franchise.
Oh, big time.
AJ Green in 2011 was great, but he had a good rookie quarterback with him. There were some players on the team. Julio, 2011. But there was Tony Gonzalez, Roddy White. This guy is putting up historic numbers, and considering the context of the situation, it is scary hours for anybody in the division who plays corner. I think about being an edge rusher in a division where there's a dominant lockdown tackle. Mm-hmm. You're just if he's on my side, it sucks.
Yeah.
And you can at least pick your matchup. If you're asked to shadow Neighbors and you're the number one guy in the NFC East somewhere that's going to be a tough job.
Bring your lunch pail.
Things have changed.
We've got Sunday Night Football, Cowboys at Steelers. Steelers favored by 2.5 points. It's going to be a fun one. That is your two classic, if you want to really define America's teams that we do, two America's teams, Cowboys and Steelers are going to go at it.
This is also a Bevel Conway watch list.
Oh my goodness.
Do we know what jerseys they're going with yet?
Hey, somebody made a good point. Puka had more targets through 4 games last year. But he was on a good team with things around him. That was the caveat that I included. But that's a good point. He was a big part of that offense. What are you saying? Dallas, Pittsburgh?
Dallas, Pittsburgh.
Everything in my brain says Pittsburgh, including bet Pittsburgh. I don't know why the line's not bigger. It's at Pittsburgh, and that tells you this might not be as easy as you think. And I don't know. I look at this game and I think the rushers, the run game, the middle of defense for Dallas. I mean, the whole thing.
They lost their teeth.
It feels like this is the wrong kind of team for you to play.
Yeah.
They play a lot more discipline than the Ravens, who beat you up and damn near hung 200 yards of penalties. It was they weren't even trying to follow the rules. I think Pittsburgh's a little bit more disciplined in that respect. I don't know if somebody has like penalty numbers, but if Pittsburgh doesn't shoot themselves in the foot, this is a matchup that feels really good for you. I mean, with Brandon Cooks out, and you're talking about not looking at Devontae this year. I don't know if that's kind of a white flag move or what, like, or they can't afford him, but I would think Jerry would be all over something like that, making you look good for signing Dak. But I think the defense is kind of the problem. They're playing a lot of too high, or single high. They're playing a lot of single high, and Zimmer, he's losing his best rushers. And so, what do you do? And now you want to blitz? You want to blitz Justin Fields? Well, you better be good at it, and people better not miss, because he's the type of guy that can beat a free runner, and then it turns into a 50-yard play. So, I look at this, and I think it's a Pittsburgh spot, but I've been definitely wrong in primetime before. It's a blind spot for me. Primetime, it kind of feels like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing sometimes.
And primetime, since 1970, Dallas 106 and Pittsburgh 98 have the most primetime wins.
This is an American matchup right here.
Just everybody grab your Budweisers, hang out.
Diggs versus Diggs versus Pickens. Popcorn. That's a popcorn matchup, certified. Guyton has to win on Herbig. Herbig, he looks kind of small out there. Like when you put him out in base downs, so
they might be without him too, in addition to Highsmith.
So there's an issue
for this week.
There's an issue, right? And in pass rush, that is an issue because, then you can pay a lot of attention to T.J. Watt. It kind of mirror images. Only one team's got a better unit, but Pittsburgh's defense, the straw that stirs the drink this week, doesn't have a Robin, and Dallas's offense, the same thing, and CD doesn't have a Robin. So it's who's going to take away the X factor better and work around that issue? I got to lean Pittsburgh here. Guyton got beat a lot last week, but I think Herbig, if he plays or whoever it is, it might be a chance for him to get right. Again, I thought Steichen did a really good job of occupying Watt early in the game last week, so something to look at. But again, Zimmer, what you want to do? I like Overshone. The linebacker?
Yep.
I like him.
Long.
Yeah, I like him. And Donovan Wilson, he's a guy you can bring on the blitz. 2022, 5 sacks. Did I read that wrong? They got some guys who know how to blitz, but you better be surgical with this bitch, Jake. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so
initial thoughts on Monday night. We've got Saints at Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 5.5. 43 is the total. What are you got when it came out, or do you have any quick thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of points, for a team that's kind of, and maybe I'm falling into the trap because I think the Chiefs are really good, but I think the Saints, after last week, losing to the Falcons, losing to the Eagles, it's a good time to buy them a little bit low.
I'm not too worried about a Clint, Derek Carr.
I don't mean they're going to win.
Yeah, no, I know, but but trying to come back against a Steve Spagnuolo defense, No,
I'm really. I mean, honestly, it depends on if everybody's healthy. I love Kamara. I think Kamara gives you a chance every week if they can get on the edges. Great. If they can get on the edges and run the football and get people running sideways, I think Spag's going to do a good job of building a unified front up front. But when you looked at outside zone in the Falcons, they made some hay. You know what I mean? There's going to be opportunities in the run game, and there might be opportunities with the shots. Yeah. And if you're maxing up to pick up the blitz, and you pick up one of these pressures, you can hit them on some big plays. And so I do look at this game and say, hey, the Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. You know me. I'm never going to question the Chiefs. But they are going through some growing pains right now. I need to see more Worthy, right? I need to see him come along as a real featured centerpiece of this offense. And I think Patrick has to play better. That's a big one to me. And you think about having a guy like Lattimore, having a Debo, having these guys on defense that can actually man up and take away the few good options you have. I think this is going to be a tough game. So just looking ahead, I'm looking forward to that game because I think we'll learn a lot about both teams. And I feel like we haven't seen the Saints on the road a lot in primetime. I don't know, it's just a feeling I have.
Yeah. It's hard to think of some that I mean, you always think they're playing it at,
either a divisional foe indoors or
yes.
Yeah, just something about like seeing them outside on that grass. Like it's a funny matchup for me.
Yeah,
I
really.
look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
I really do. Last thing, couple items, closing thoughts for the week. I hope everybody enjoyed the live show so far. I love doing this. It's so much easier to be able to talk to y'all. I appreciate you, even the ones that the haters and the losers. I'm joking. There's no losers in this chat. The haters and the aggregators. I don't know what's happened to these aggregator sites anymore.
Yeah.
They sold them all. And everybody's like, what is Dov Kleiman doing? I'm like, it's not even Dov Kleiman anymore. Is it not hilarious that we're to the point where like a guy that had no name recognition,
everyone gives him.
We're still giving the guy name recognition.
Like there's probably 15.
The internet's crazy. So, anyways, I actually learned this from an aggregator. Ted Karras, on behalf of the NFLPA, basically is up there at his locker in Cincinnati this week talking about something they're trying to get done. And I've talked about this for a couple years, where the reporters aren't in the locker room anymore while guys are changing, interviewing guys. Okay. And I know fans, especially male fans of the NFL, they love, like, there's a lot of alphas out there. And ironically, they really want guys to be getting interviewed with their meat out. And I saw some of these people in the mentions that are like, these pansies, these millionaires, what else do they want, that sort of thing. And this isn't me building some argument that's not happening. Like, I've seen people making this argument. It should be a no-brainer. This should be the most obvious thing in the world. Like, when guys are getting changed and their dicks are out, like, we should not be interviewing these guys. Like, there shouldn't be guys in the vicinity getting interviewed. You can get just as substantive an interview in the media pool room, which is like, these buildings are huge. We are asked all the time to conduct interviews on the phone, like elsewhere, and we can do that. And like, me as a player, I want to be respectful of the media. I want to give them an opportunity to do their job. I always had a lot of respect for them as long as they did their job the right way. If you didn't do your job the right way, we can play that game. But if you're doing your job the right way, I'm always going to respect you, because these people have to do a really tough thing, which is like, find something to talk about every day. I'm doing it now. It's hard. And, when they come in and guys are like grumpy or skirting the media, I understand the concern is like, maybe some guys will use this as a chance to hide, and maybe some guys do. But there's enough guys on the team that if you can't get what you need out of 53 grown men, where there is like time allotted for you to talk to them, then maybe get better at your job. I think that this is the right step. Think about women's basketball. Okay, let me just say this is a man thing. Men get a lot of things in this world, but one thing we don't get sometimes is a little bit of fucking like space, and a little bit of the same treatment we give other people. Like, where like, if in the WNBA we had cameras in there, or like women's soccer, we had cameras in there. Can you imagine us being like, no, we have to have the cameras in there. We have to. This is the best time to get the interview. Dude, I know people that have had their meat on national TV because of this. And people are just like, no big deal. I'm like, yeah. Kind of depends on if they got out of the shower 5 minutes ago and the water was cold.
Medium-sized deal.
Yeah, it's at least kind of a deal. Like, I don't want to. So, anyways, I just think it's like an invasion of privacy. Always has been. I think, yeah. And will I be nostalgic about some of the like eye black, like right off the field raw interviews? You're getting those on the. Last night we had the guy from the Falcons interviewing with fans fighting behind him in the stands.
We showed it.
What's
early.
realer than that? Get your post-game interview some other way. The emotions will still be raw. And actually, like, I think you'll get some really thoughtful answers. Because the only times people will be like, man, we're going to lose all these memorable moments after games. And I'm like, name me a positive one where the player was reflected upon positively. Name one after the game.
It's
at the locker.
Super exploitive. Like, you're exploiting somebody's in an emotional state immediately afterwards. It's supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of privacy. Like, we'll look back on it like, holy shit, they were doing interviews in the locker room?
Yeah, dude. It's kind of like the Jerry Jones thing, where it's like, he gets caught on camera talking about guys' dicks. And I'm like, okay, imagine any other American workplace right now. what the head of a company would be dealing with. We are not treated like we are treated better than normal people in that we're paid a lot. But like people are just kind of like, well, you're the common decency doesn't matter because you're rich or because you're well compensated or because we need this entertainment. In this scenario, I think what Ted Karras is talking about really good, and I thought he laid it out really well. Yeah. Let's watch it real quick so people can. I mean, like, watch a little bit of it.
Yeah. So, as you've heard from a couple teams now, and the NFLPA is going to come out with a statement in an effort to protect the sanctity of the locker room.
The sanctity.
Players. Each team is going to figure out a program where we conduct our interview outside of the locker room. Now, this doesn't bar you from the locker room. You can't do is the cameras guys in private moments in our locker room. So I've been working with Emily. I've been working with PJ.
That's the gist of it, right? I mean, that's the gist of it. It's that simple. I don't think anybody has an issue with it. I think even the most unreasonable person in the chat would have a hard time building an argument to where, like, this is a deal breaker. It'll be fine. We'll get some good interviews out of these guys. Plus, more time to interview people. Guys can talk on green light with their clothes on.
Exactly.
Dude, it's just, people don't need to see that, The other thing this week, Marshawn Lynch, guest picker at Cal. This has got to be one of the best guest pickers of all time.
If they don't have him come out to
in a golf cart.
On a golf cart,
they fucked it up.
We're going to need to call Steve, and something's going to need to happen.
Plus 500, he takes a shot of Hennessy.
Oh, he's going to give Skittles to Nick Saban. He's going to try to convince
even money. Yeah, even money golf cart.
Yep.
Even money Skittles. No, plus 200 Skittles. Yeah. Plus 500 Hennessy.
Easy. Yes. He's going to try to slip in some Hennessy type thing. I wonder if
plus 750 run through a motherfucker face. Just somebody. He just runs through somebody's face.
Mention of Applebee's. What would you, because like his Applebee's video, what would, like if he just said like, oh, I think, he say his friend has to
plus 700
Applebee's mentioned.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I cannot wait to see it. I'm a huge Marshawn fan. I mean, fucking had to tackle him 2 times a year. Well, more like 30 times a year as far as the times he was in the tackle box. But I've never actually jumped on a running back, and I was 270 pounds. I've never jumped on a running back except for him that carried me like a cape. I mean, I jumped on his back at the wrong time, and it only helped him run further down the field. It was crazy. I was like on a ride that I couldn't get off of. I had to jump off like the guy in Saving Silverman at the end. When he jumps off I had to just jump off. I was like, you fucking DBs can take care of this. And he is just a dog. And it's a delight to play against. He was a lot of fun to play against.
He's got to be the best.
A lot of people won't put it that way, but it was a delight for me because I just love to go to war with that guy. He might not have thought about it like that, playing our D-line, but I think a little bit sometimes he did. And we just felt like it was like us hunting, like, the biggest, baddest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
And it was like there he is. It was like every time he lined up, you couldn't see where his eyes were looking. He had the visor, and he got in that stance, and I was just like, dog. Like, this is just a war with this cat. And I just loved every minute of it. And if Virginia ever gets
game
day, I know, Steve, you're my friend, but like, you don't have to make me feel good. Don't even put me on the list.
Just put Marshawn Lynch up there again.
Just bring Marshawn Lynch.
Just put him up there again.
Because I don't want to follow something like that at any point.
Let me read his, he retweeted College Game Day announcing that he's being there. His tweet said, "Yes, Laud. Please pull up early on your boy at Memorial Glade. And when I say early this time, I mean hella early. Pit opens at 3:30 a.m. Yeah, a.m. Show is live at 6 a.m. So we on team no sleep.
Be drunk the whole time.
So we on team no sleep, straight from Yo Night Out, right to campus, ready to get it in. It's gonna be so sick,
bro. That's incredible.
We might need to look at Airbnbs in Berkeley and just hop on up.
It's going to smell like baby powder and perfume. And like, just strip club. Like generally strip club. He's going to smell like a general strip club.
Yes.
The guys on the desk are blown away by this guy. All right. So, anyways, hope everybody has a great weekend. Let's go through the names.
Before you do the names,
okay.
pick this, and then
you
I'll
got
call
it.
them out.
You got it.
Desk back here.
As we get ready for Week 5 in the NFL this weekend, I want you to picture this. You bet your favorite player as first touchdown scorer, but he throws a block to send a teammate into the end zone instead, and seemingly losing your bet. Right, wrong. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Keep that in mind next time you throw in a first touchdown score bet with BetMGM. Happy hunting. Let's go through the names real quick, and we'll figure out who's going to get some damn merch. How about it? How about it? We thank you so much for being here with us at the Greenlight Pod. Yeah, how about a round of applause in the chat for Cowboy Reed on this side of the camera.
Vibes.
I mean, what a handsome guy.
Don't give me a...
Look at this guy. Got a face for TV. He's back there working in radio.
And the chat was kind of interested in his face. They said about Reed that he's got a better mustache than Bo, and his stash is incredibly impressive. And then they said about Nolan that he seems like he knows ball, but he's too hot to take seriously.
People like Nolan. They think he's hot.
Nolan's attractive.
They do think he's hot.
They do.
I didn't know that.
They were discussing wildly.
Too kind.
Isn't that wild?
Hot boy Nolan.
Not that I don't think you're hot, bro. Like I really, it's a blind spot to be like, who hot, who not.
Too kind.
Wait till y'all see Tanner and he gets up here. It's not gonna be.
Everyone's gonna go crazy.
Fucking guy.
Everyone's gonna forget about us.
Fucking guy looks like a mixture of Brad Pitt and Chris Pine. Honestly,
yeah. With one of the best haircuts.
Yeah.
Like his hairstyle flown out of the back of a hat.
Wait till you see, bro. We got hotties in the back, bro. Hotties in the back.
They bad.
All right, so they bad. You ready to read some names?
What we're gonna have to do is
like a bunch of names.
Well, all the names are at the very front, and we're not on this machine and on that machine. I can't scroll all the way back.
So what are we gonna have to do?
We are gonna have you after we end the stream go back through the live.
Okay. So we're gonna announce it on social.
We'll announce it on social, and we'll do it on Monday. So if you,
ooh yeah, come back Monday.
I saw a few of the names.
Some good ones?
Brock Lesnar was a good one.
Oh, Brock Lesnar's a damn good one. Okay, well, hey, Monday morning to start the show, don't let me forget.
We will
announce who's getting some merch by end of next week.
So you got to be here Monday morning.
Be here Monday morning to claim your prize. If you don't, Monday afternoon, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
2 o'clock. It just feels like the morning because we work all night and all day.
And we started this at 9:30 in the morning. Thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, dude.
Started at 9:30 and it's noon.
Yeah.
Out here having a good time.
Nolan could be on the cover of GQ. Matt Roth, great name. Is that Matt Roth, the former defensive end, the Iowa Matt Roth? Nolan could be Carr, just saying. Resemblance kind of uncanny. Don't worry, Chris and Bo, you're hot too.
Who are these people?
Emily, I appreciate it. I don't need to be hot. I'm married as fuck. I got 3 kids. I don't even think I'm making any more kids anymore. So, like, it doesn't even need to, you know? Plus, it's all about what's inside. You know, and that's what I'm going to send you off with this weekend. I hope you guys, go out and be good people. Go out and help somebody this weekend. Go out and donate to Team Rubicon. Go out and, you know, if
it's in the description if you can. That's great. And hey, Young Bo in the chat. Young Bo, I know you asked a super question. We'll give you a shout out there on Monday. Thanks for your question. Appreciate you.
Matt Roth is just another guy from Iowa. There's multiple Matt Roths. Anyways. Hey guys, hottest show on fucking YouTube? Is there a hotter show?
Can't be.
Guy looks like Edgar Allan Poe if he got ass. Y'all have a good weekend.
Go Broncos.
This is our team.